All right. I think we're live. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Anyone in the chat can hear me, just push 1. All right. Thank you for the confirmation. Welcome back to the Black Brain Trust. This is episode 467, Space and Technology. Please hit the like button as you come in, share the video if possible. Hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust, including those posted on the community tab. Document description beneath the video for you to follow along with. If you want to engage in discussion, there'll be a link in the chat. All right, I give time for people to come in.
To the I, to the B, to the E, to the T, to the A, to the L, to the N. To the I, to the B, to the E, to the T, to the A, to the L, to the N. To the I, to the B, to the E, to the T, to the A, to the L, to the N. To the I, to the B, to the E, to the T, to the A, to the L, to the N.
So what you saying, kids, you butts, you spraying niggas mean saliva, messy slobbering. From my Timmys, when you test me clobbering, these niggas easy. See, I hunger for you talking shit, you please me when you say your shit is butter. It's more excuse for the use of noise. Slaughtering, there'll be no truth, so boys, you break your jaw if they your peoples. To stop the afro playing Doc Kevorkian, I lock your talks, you then commence the mercy killing. Cause your mentals dead, your verse be still intensely showing you got love for the game. Maybe if you play in tennis, cause you miss the menace, wicked crazy hard to listen to without my finger flying to the fast forward button. Cause your feeble ass flowing, nothing new. Nothing new when cutting through be the juggernaut. If you know the deal, then you got to keep it real far away. Secluded from my vision on the hush, and any effort towards rebuttal leads to crushing feeble niggas with the job. To the I, to the B, to the E, to the T, to the A, to the L, to the N. To the I, to the B, to the E, to the T, to the A, to the L, to the N. To the I, to the B, to the E, to the T, to the A, to the L, to the N. To the I, to the B, to the E, to the T, to the A, to the L. Hey yo, I heard you coming out. The closet deposit your masculinity, your guts. The hair on your chest, your scrawny nuts. Nigga, run your manhood. I take your average dropping bombs, joker till the family jewels, women rocking your mom's choker. You leave a niggas joke, but I never thought the KY. And when you say I got your back, you trying to hit the hate. I never knew the static could be so traumatic, so I cut them slack and everybody singing who's the Mac and trying to be your player. Bring yourself and Roscoe, you getting crazy ass. Whippings, I get hostile when a brother knows he fly, but to be reminiscent of Jeff Goldblum falling apart, breaking as the ruins in your soul, dooms are given. You're driven by the stress, thoughts are deep. Don't in my quoting, but the juggernauts will never fail to beat your style's corny, just a horny slob. Talk about you getting laid off, and then you best to get a fucking job, but not the job. To the I, to the B, to the E, to the T, to the A, to the L, to the N. To the I, to the B, to the E, to the T, to the A, to the L, to the N. To the I, to the B, to the E, to the T, to the A, to the L, to the N. To the I, to the B, to the E, to the T, to the A. But then at times I can't touch your style's milk. Curdling close to cottage cheese with your verbal and your most of knowledge. Please, kid, I know your style's deaf. Cause you couldn't possibly be hearing loud and clear and mean the shit you're saying. Quit your playing cause your thought is nothing. Only around the edges you be rough, and in comparison I'm only catching L's when I'm puffing. You from the strictly raw, jogging to hooker style. Your joint's hot, and I'm betting your condition took a while after clinic visits. During which the master cynic blizzards, acid brainstorming, flushing out those cockier than Jordan for the swing and miss. 0 for 4, no rapport, bringing pissed feelings to the enemy. So nigga, buy serenity. Hostile, fiendish, paranoid, can't cope, squeamish. Knowing that the juggernaut stalking, job talking. If y'all still ain't understanding me, let's get on down. In your case, on your hand and knee, defeat. J to the I to the B to the C to the A to the L to the F. J to the I to the B to the E to the C to the A to the L to the F. J to the I to the B to the E to the C to the A to the L to the F. J to the I to the B to the E to the C to the A to the L to the F. J to the I to the B to the E to the C to the A to the L to the F. J to the I to the B to the E to the C to the A to the L to the F.
Yo, shout out to all the jive talkers out there. What up, Mike?
All right. We get started with the first item on the docket. It is from the Boston Globe. Newport Company brings the Internet of Things to boats. You've heard of Nest and Ring. Now, Siren Marine is bringing similar connectivity to the marine industry. I'll explain this out. This week's Ocean State Innovators conversation is with Daniel Harper, founder and CEO of Siren Marine, a Newport-based marine electronics company. Question: how is Siren Marine applying IoT to boats? The answer is IoT has solidified itself in the home and auto industries as perhaps the most significant development since the advent of the smartphone. Companies such as Nest and Ring have become household names, and you'd be hard pressed to buy a car today that isn't connected to the internet. Siren Marine is bringing the connectivity to the marine space by creating the connected boat platform. Essentially, Siren acts as a gateway that takes all of the data coming from the boat, sends it to the cloud, and down to the end user's mobile device. Question: what are the functions that the app allows the boat owners to monitor and control? Answer: as a team of lifelong boaters and boat owners, we know firsthand what the app needs. It monitors all critical systems like battery voltage, high water, bilge pump activity. Is my bilge pump pumping water out and draining my batteries? GPS position and security, entry, intrusion. Utilizing a connection to the NEMA, National Marine Electronics Association 2000 network, we can monitor advanced engine metrics such as revolutions per minute, oil pressure, and fuel consumption, in addition to tank level data. Another advantage of the NEMA 2000 connection is the ability to remotely control digital switching systems, essentially letting you control all of the boat's systems, lights, air conditioning, etc., from the palm of your hand. Question: how does the app allow boat owners to visualize data, and how do they use the data? Answer: the app allows the owners to see the status of all the boat systems and its location at a glance in a system intuitive interface. It's important to note that this is a native Android and iOS app, not an HTML5 web app. This provides enhanced stability and reliability that is essential for an application like this. Within the app, a user will see a dashboard made up of individual tiles. Each system that is connected will have its own tile that displays the status of that system. Users can click on each tile to see a more detailed breakdown of current conditions and a history of events related to that system. At a glance, the owner can have total peace of mind that the boat is safe, secure, and ready to enjoy. Question, when was the company formed and how has it grown and how many employees does it have now? The answer is, I started working on the original concept and prototype in 2006, years before IoT was a well-known concept. By 2010, I had the first production run of the first generation product ready to ship. I incorporated in 2011, and we have been growing and leading the connected boat category ever since. We were awarded the connected boat trademark 2 years ago. We literally own this space. The last 2 years, we have grown more than 250% year over year and are on track to double growth rate in 2020. We are 25 full-time employees today with another 20 or so contractors that are essentially 100% dedicated to the Siren Marine during the intense scaling period. Question, where are your target markets and what are your plans for for the coming year? Currently, Siren is used exclusively in the marine market. Sales and distribution channels include boat builders and other original equipment manufacturers, consumer direct, fleet operators, rental and service providers like Towboat US, big retail, independent dealers and installers, and marine distributors such as CWR. The market segments include center consoles, bass boats, trawlers, sailboats, cruising boats, lake boats, etc. Essentially, any boat with a motor and a battery is a candidate for our system. In the coming year, we will be expanding into straight IoT applications. Boats are hard. Everything else is easy. We are doing generators now and plan to expand into recreational vehicles and other non-marine applications. Question, a newly approved state economic development plan says Rhode Island's major new focus should be the emerging blue economy, meaning any economic activity linked to the ocean. What would you like to see the state do to boost the blue economy? Answer, the state of Rhode Island has been an incredible advocate and supporter of Siren Marine. We have benefited from hiring programs, expansion programs, and grants to partner with local universities to develop technologies within our sensor space. Rhode Island is great for early stage and startup companies. I think to boost the blue economy, it's essential that the state of work to position itself as a hub for this emerging market. Rhode Island has a proud marine history and a core of incredibly innovative companies that promise a bright future. The key is marketing those capabilities to the greater region and nation and the globe. So I'll be honest, I didn't know that they were actually doing this type of stuff before, but it makes sense why they would be doing this. It's interesting to see that they can do something like this at the marine level. I would have thought that they would have probably have used this on like unmanned surface vehicles, such as like, the drone boats and stuff like that. I thought they would have used it on that, but not actual boats. But I guess you would need to collect a lot of that data in order to start, to really cultivate a better app.
Now, Mike, because I'm kind of walking out and about here for a quick second here. What is that? What does this app do exactly?
It's collecting data from the boats. So all your engine data, fuel data, and things like that. Basically, everything that would be on an OBD2 sensor on the vehicle is actually collecting it on the boat.
Oh, okay.
So it's actually collecting this stuff, and then it's using the app to actually it pushes the data to the cloud, and then from the cloud it gets pushed back down to the app itself. I think this is actually interesting because what if you are what if you wanted to share that data with like the Coast Guard, and a Coast Guard vessel would know in advance that your ship,
your boat is in distress or something.
Yeah, there's a distress signal not being sent out, but it knows that the distance between where the vessel is in the proximity to the shoreline and how much fuel is there, or what the health status is of the the electronics and engine on board. I guess it would be really good in that area, but I think this is probably going to be more. I think this is going to be a lot more useful in autonomous vehicles on the ocean. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, they dominate the industry though. That's something that's very, very interesting, because this shows that you can actually open up new markets for yourself. Yeah, this is very interesting, because one of the things that, because I'm in Massachusetts, so I'm not too far away. I'm only about 45 minutes away from Newport. The thing is, it's hard for people to get back and forth to Boston and in Providence. And what happens here is they have to wait for the commuter rail or the Amtrak. And we've been talking about this for a while, that there needs to be a fast ferry boat that goes to and from Boston to Providence and Providence to Boston. Because
we got that. Mike, we got something like that. When me and my brothers, when we go like ocean fishing, we take the ferry from Long Beach Harbor out to Catalina Island, and that's all it does. It just goes from the Long Beach port to Catalina Island and back. I want to say it's a hovercraft. It's not a hydrofoil. It's a hovercraft that you're on.
Yeah. If it was autonomous, then I guess a lot of this would make a lot of sense. All right, next item on the docket is from CNN.com. Here's your chance to design equipment for NASA's proposed Venus rover and win $15,000. So, NASA wants your help creating new technology for a mission to a hellish planet. The space agency is trying to explore the surface of Venus with a rover, something that has never been accomplished before. With a surface temperature of in excess of 840 degrees Fahrenheit and a surface pressure of 90 times that of Earth, Venus can turn lead into a puddle and crush a nuclear-powered submarine with ease. While many missions have visited our sister planet, only a dozen have made contact with the surface of Venus before quickly succumbing to the oppressive heat and pressure. But NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, JPL, is working on a mission to the fiery planet's surface using automation rover for extreme environments, AREE. That's where you can come in. NASA needs help designing a sensor that will prevent the rover from running into rocks, steep terrain, and crevices. The challenge is called Exploring Hell, Avoiding Obstacles on a Clockwork Rover. To assist ARE on its groundbreaking mission concept, JPL needs an equally groundbreaking obstacle avoidance sensor, one that does not rely on vulnerable electronic systems, NASA said. For that reason, JPL is turning to the global community. Don't have an engineering degree? Doesn't matter. Never seen a spacecraft in real life? No problem. JPL is interested in all approaches, regardless of technical maturity, NASA said. The first place winner of the design contest will get up to $15,000. The second place winner will get up to $10,000, and third place winner will get $5,000. The difficulty for this challenge is in designing a sensor that does not rely on electronic systems, NASA said, as Venus has a planetary environment just this side of hellish. Current state-of-the-art electronics fail at just over 250 degrees Fahrenheit and would easily succumb to the extreme Venus environment. That is why NASA is turning to the global community of innovators and inventors for a solution. But the sensor has to be more than just ridiculously rugged. It must be able to respond when encountering slopes greater than 30 degrees uphill or downhill and rocks taller than 0.35 meters or 1.15 feet, but it must not trigger when encountering rocks less than 0.3 1 foot in height. Those are some of the many requirements for the new sensor. Earth and Venus are basically sibling planets, but Venus took a turn at one point and became inhospitable to life as we know it. And Jonathan Sauter, principal investigator for the Automation Rover for Extreme Environments concept. Exploring and studying the surface of Venus could help us understand the planet's evolution and could contribute to a better understanding of the Earth's climate. NASA says this is an exciting opportunity for the public to design a component that could one day end up in another celestial body, said Ryan Stewart, challenge coordinator for the NASA Tournament Lab. NASA recognizes that good ideas can come from anywhere and that prize competitors are a great way to engage the public's interest and ingenuity and make space exploration possible for everyone. So this is actually a really interesting challenge. And I'm just going to leave the picture up here. This is a really interesting challenge. I know that the Russians during the Soviet Union time had tried 15 times to actually get to Venus. They've landed craft on the planet, but it only lasts for maybe, less than 15, 20 minutes at best. It has sent back pictures and whatnot. So looking at that and looking at this kind of picture, the metal probably can survive. I mean, we know that iron and things like that has been known to survive high temperatures of like 1200 degrees Fahrenheit. So that we know.
You know what else is interesting also, that I don't know, I kind of get the sense here that, you know, and when you project the cost of something like a Venus mission, you could defer a lot of that by crowdsourcing or open sourcing, right? And it's kind of like the approach that they took here. It seems as if they've kind of opened up, sorry about that, I'm outside. It seems as if they've kind of opened a space mission up to the open source community. You know, they're crowdsourcing ideas. I mean, think about like all of the radical ideas that'll get submitted.
Well, yeah, there is a open source space community, but a lot of the time, all the critical stuff that you do need to know about, NASA doesn't really share, because that's how China was able to get to the moon. But you know, NASA did not want to share the information with China.
Right.
And so China had to rely on the open source community, open space community to actually get a lot of information.
Right.
But still, it's a feat nonetheless. But I don't know, man. This has to be really, really difficult because batteries don't really survive at that temperature.
Dude, you have to do something to where you oh man, fuck it. Let's go ahead and talk about it. You couldn't have batteries, right? You couldn't have batteries. You'd have to have some sort of system where you're actually harvesting and utilizing energy in real time. Like, you know what I mean? It can't be harvested, collected, stored in something like a battery and then expended out, right? You're gonna have to create something where the atmosphere powers it. It's such a volatile atmosphere. You're gonna have to create a vehicle that's gonna work in that environment. I mean, unless you can find some sort of material where you can encase batteries in to power something that can stave off the amount of heat that exists on Venus.
Well, I think that's what they have in this picture right here. It looks like it's
That the base of it.
Well, the top of it, it looked like they're using some kind of turbine to actually.
Okay.
It's a turbine to actually propel it. I'm not entirely sure what the what the energy source is other than the turbine actually turning. Okay.
Right.
Well, actually, okay. There's a lot of wind on the planet itself, from my understanding. That's my
Okay.
understanding. There's a lot of wind moving at high rates of speed.
Right.
How violent the wind, the wind gusts are, I don't know, because if it's strong enough, it'll probably tip that rover over anyways.
You know what I'd do? I'd use something like that, right, as an energy capture system, sort of like a KERS, okay? But the power mechanism would actually be sort of like a winding mechanism, similar to a watch, right? So the kinetic energy in the propeller spins and wind. It's just like when you wind like a clock, and it's almost as if you have this sort of spring-loaded mechanism that stores the energy captured, because the propeller winds a series of springs, which for then actually it would actually how am I trying to explain this? So when you have it's like when you release a spring, you're releasing energy, right? So the propeller is capturing the energy. There's a spring mechanism that stores the energy, and then it expels it out and turns the wheels. And so that's one way you can actually get around any sort of mechanized like motor battery system type of thing. Now you could create some sort of actuator system or like a brake mechanism that stops movement, right, while the propeller spins and charges up the spring mechanism, and then that actuator can release, and then the thing can move around. You'd have to have some minimal electronics. This is what I mean. You can't, this would be something where you cannot have something that has high combustibility and high volatility. That's just kind of like my take on something like this.
Yeah, the illustration and caption says that shows the possible wind powered Venus rover. So it doesn't sound like they're going to use any sort of battery technology. But what I worry about is the length of time that it's going to be able to survive, regardless of what kind of propellant you're going to use. Because
right.
when the Russians did it, they tried 15 times, I think, or 12 or 13 times, and they had so much difficulty. That thing didn't last more than a few minutes before it died. So if this is going to be up there, where do you think you're going to go with that? At that temperature. I mean, you're talking lava, right? I mean, I think lava, even at its coolest point, is something like 800 degrees or something like that, 500 degrees. So
yeah,
that would be the only real way to really tell how that's going to work. If you wait till a volcano erupts and then try to climb on top of that with a rover.
Right. Yeah. Because I've seen video footage of like where they try to take a drone right down into the pit of a volcano, like
Mhm.
in Hawaii.
Mhm.
And dude, what happens is that the drone gets down to a point where the radiant heat is so hot that it basically nukes the systems, and then the drone just drops right into the damn lava.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense, because that's what the article is saying, right?
Right, exactly. Yep.
That 250 degrees is what the Fahrenheit is what the electronics can sustain. But so
Right.
what kind of electronic system could you design that would be able to sustain 800 degrees?
Yeah.
It wouldn't be wafer based. It's really difficult. I don't think that the Russians, when they did it, they used basic electronics at the time, and that thing only lasted maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, fine.
Yeah, that's why I was like, dude, you got to use some sort of kinetic energy mechanism, man. Something where you have to kind of like but you would still have to have something that could transmit data, right?
That's what they're talking about. That's what they're talking about. They need to kind of they need some kind of logic board that's going to be able to communicate out. So I assume that there's going to be some kind of satellite sitting at the above the planet to capture all this data in real time.
Okay, that's interesting.
So that would be the only way for it to broadcast out.
So now we're sending 2 vehicles out, right? One that'll be above ground, and okay. So we have a rendezvous point up in the sky. So this won't have.
The satellite would actually lower the rover down and then detach it.
Okay, and then okay, got you.
What's going on, Johnny Blaze?
Hey, not too much, man. This sounds very cool, very interesting stuff here.
Yo.
I just got one take on this, and
Mhm.
it's how they're gonna, besides the heat, you still got to think about all the electromagnetic radiation, because that's gonna play hell on some circuit boards as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
You would need like a cryogen sort of system to encapsulate that stuff in there, and that would be pretty heavy. I know we
right,
use it on computers, and they use that on quantum-based computers as well. That's how quantum-based computers are actually cooled down, is through cryogenics. But
okay,
because it has to bring it down below zero.
yeah. I know, like our MRI machines, we use basically a Faraday cage. The entire room is encased in copper, but that's only really keeping out radio frequencies.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Right. This would need to have like the satellite would have to have a laser beam pointed at the rover all the time, where it is, in order to continuously capture all the data. Because
Right.
whatever data it gets, if the system fails and it doesn't get the data out, then it's no good.
Right. But I'm also thinking, because Venus is in much closer proximity to the sun. I mean, you're dealing with a lot of like cosmic rays and other events coming off that.
Mm-hmm.
So that satellite is probably going to need, a different layer of shielding than the satellites back here orbiting the Earth.
Oh, well, they already have a satellite that's going around the sun now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We covered that a few weeks ago. There's a satellite that's already on its way to the sun to circle its way around it, using black shielding is what they call it. I forget the name of it, but it's basically a black shielding to keep it from burning up. So if they figured that part out at the very least,
Okay.
but how do you maintain how do you maintain a rover that's basically driving through hell?
Yeah.
The metal shouldn't be that much of a problem, but how do you keep the electronics from cooking itself? Is the real question. And yeah, you would need a cryogenic sort of system, but that's going to be really, really heavy. I mean, you're talking about something that's going to weigh 2,000, 3,000 pounds rolling around like that.
Cybertruck.
But that thing,
Oh no.
yeah, it can't even take a baseball being tossed at it. So, yeah,
What about some kind of ceramics?
Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. We actually use ceramic coated bearings in racing, like for heat reduction.
Okay, yeah.
But what's the threshold for the heat on the bearings?
Well, what they do is, in contrast to traditional steel ball bearings, they run about 30 to 40% cooler. Like if you were to shoot a heat gun at the bearing after a run, a ceramic bearing versus the regular bearing, the steel bearing is going to be 30 to 40% hotter than the ceramic bearing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you would like to, I guess, take that ceramic, could you mix it with some kind of alloy that could stay cool like aluminum?
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, because with ceramic bearings, what it is, it's coated, right? So it's not actually mixed, but coated.
Okay.
Mixed. I don't know. Yeah.
We talked about this many times before, that there's a strong market for space exploration, and here it is, right? They're only giving out the prize for people who can come up with the electronics piece, but Gary Z Net in the chat just said, aren't they using Sapphire on the Parker Solar Probe? How would Sapphire hold up in this case? That's what we're trying to figure out, Gary Z. Trying to figure that out, because I mean, obviously NASA have to figure this out at some point, but they're worried about the electronics so much, it makes you wonder. I mean, just based off of this rendering right here, it looks like they've encapsulated whatever would be inside of it. Okay, fine. Even the wheels, the treads are actually just basically mesh sort of wire. I'm assuming that any sort of solid wheel would just break down anyways. It'd probably be the Achilles heel to it. But yeah, that's a good point. That's what I was referring to earlier. The space probe, that's supposed to be monitoring the sun at close proximity. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how I don't know how the electronics on that are actually going to be holding up, because if you can get that close to the sun, I don't see why Venus would be that much of a problem. I mean, I assume the sun has to be something like 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit. Let me advance DE Raptor. Mr. DE.
Yeah, good evening, Jim, and how you guys doing?
Good, brother, good.
I don't know. From looking at what the expectations are that NASA's putting forward, this thing would have to be encapsulated, say, for instance, in a metal ball that's pressurized, and whatever they use to pressurize it, be it nitrogen or some other similar gas that is cold enough to withstand the outside temperature,
Right.
but also withstand the outside pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And then you immerse all your electronics inside this gas.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like you were talking about the bearings. It won't be feasible to use metal bearings. You have to use what we used to call ear bearings on that once they spin up, the whatever it's going to be like frictionless.
Mm-hmm.
So it should work if you can get the temperature inside, if you can get the electronics inside the capsule to operate within a certain temperature.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get the electronics to operate at Celsius, I don't know, 20, below 20, Celsius 20.
Yeah.
And then the capsule itself, I don't know if it's about 5 feet around. And it's almost like a submarine. You know, when you go down 1,000 feet in a submarine, the water down there is cold as hell.
Yeah.
But inside the submarine is still at a regulated temperature. And all your electronics and the people, everything are inside that submarine. So this is what you want, something similar to that.
Right, and the article actually mentioned that, right? It's enough to crush a submarine.
Yeah, I understand, but your ball, if you're making a spherical, it's going to be a total sphere.
Yeah.
And seeing that it's a sphere,
mm-hmm.
it should alleviate some of that that pressure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the outside pressure. If you are pressurizing inside,
Mm-hmm.
your outside pressure. If you have close to your outside pressure, it shouldn't damage your electronics inside.
No, you're right. That would basically be a cryogenic chamber.
Exactly.
That would be it. But what I'm thinking here is what they used in the movie Star Wars, right? When they had the what's the R2D2 little spear ball that rolls around with the magnetic sort of headpiece that's on it.
That's BB-8.
Yeah, BB-8. So this is exactly what I'm thinking, right? To DE's point, that's exactly what you would need. But how do you make something like that accelerate? That would happen.
You're talking about manufacturing some of that stuff in space.
Say it again.
You're talking about manufacturing some of that stuff in space.
Why do you say that?
Elaborate.
You have to deal with real time or real atmospheric conditions.
Okay.
Understand? And here on Earth, we can make some things, but it doesn't come out exactly like we try to make a sphere. A 100% functional sphere, you can't do it on planet Earth because of the
Is it the gravity?
yeah, the gravity.
Okay.
Machinery, we don't have to we not reach a level now that we can make a total sphere. You know, it won't be exactly within 1,000th of a millimeter the total sphere. You're gonna get one side of it that's gonna be maybe 1,000, and then 3 inches away it may be 1 1100s. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Instead of 1000, it'd be 1100. So the we can't do it here on Earth. NASA already know that information. That certain things are better produced in space.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's wow. That's cool.
Well, thank you for that one, DE.
But it can be done. But and when you see all these guys are racing to space, everybody, SpaceX and every one of them. Why? Because they know that it's so much that the technology is going to explode when we get out there. And you got only the technology going to explode, but you have the materials out there that some of it are not available here on Earth
Okay.
for making the
Hey,
next generation.
I just thought about something. You were talking about propulsion, making this thing move. Could they
Yeah.
use magnetics, like how the rail system works in certain countries?
Like magnetic levitation?
Yeah, make it, put, but you can use, we have it inside the X-ray machine. It uses an induction motor. And basically, one side keeps changing. They alternate the current to make these things kind of repel against each other.
Yep. You could also use heat.
Yeah.
Right? So at 800 degrees Fahrenheit, that's more than enough to propel something like a
Yeah.
balloon. But yeah, this is
You
very
can also
interesting.
use temperature differences, temperature difference inside and outside,
Yeah.
to as a propellant.
Yep. Yeah, it's a big market for this, man. I'm pretty sure $15,000 is going to be a lot more you're going to earn if you can figure this out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
If you figure this out and you sell it for $10,000, you're I'm serious. If
You're
you
an
into
idiot.
that, if you into that competition to win
Idiot.
$15,000, you're a fool.
I'm sure that people be knocking at somebody's door. Come on.
you might lose your life over the technology, but it's because governments would be looking for you. Serious. The U.S. government won't let you go.
Paul Bryant in the chat said the atomic structure of crystals aligns perfectly in zero gravity. Crystals have been growing in space for decades. There are many uses of industrial manufacturing in zero G.
Oh, there's the man. There's the man. There he is.
Maybe Paul Bryant will earn himself a cool 15K.
Yep. Ask Paul if he would sell that technology for 15K.
Yeah, right.
We pay you Tuesday.
He'll sell you the opportunity to come listen to your offer for 15K. How about that?
Yeah. Paul Bryant's in the chat. I don't know if he's gonna come on to the panel, but to this point, this larger point, these sort of conversations is exactly how you get to this point. You're not going to have conversations about swag and everything else, and then you're going to come up with a solution. So all right, next item on the docket is from The Verge. Chess champion Gary Kasparov, who was replaced by AI, says most U.S. jobs are next. Expand this out. Gary dominated chess until he was beaten by an IBM supercomputer called Deep Blue in 1997. The event made "Man Loses to Computer" headlines the world over. Kasparov recently returned to the ballroom of New York hotel where he was defeated for a debate with AI experts. Wired's Will Knight was there for the revealing interview with perhaps the greatest human chess player the world has ever known. I was the first knowledge worker whose job was threatened by a machine, says Kasparov, something he foresees coming for us all. Every technology destroys jobs before creating jobs. Who's been saying that for X amount of time in the ministry? When you look at all the statistics, only 4% of the jobs in the US require human creativity. That means 96% of jobs, I call them zombie jobs. They are dead. They just don't know it. For several decades, we have been training people to act like computers, and now we are complaining that these jobs are in danger. Of course they are. Experts say only about 14% of US jobs are at risk of replacement by AI and robots. Nevertheless, Kasparov has some advice for us zombies looking to reskill. There are different machines, and it is the role of a human and understand exactly what this machine will need to do best. I describe the human role as being shepherds. Kasparov, for example, helps Alphabet's DeepMind division understand potential weaknesses with AlphaZero's chess play. The interview also yielded this gem of a quote from Kasparov. People say, oh, we need to make ethical AI. What nonsense. Humans still have the monopoly on evil. The problem is not AI. The problem is humans using new technologies to harm other humans. It's a fascinating read and one that should be done in its entirety, if only to find out why Kasparov thinks AI is making chess more interesting, even though humanity doesn't stand a chance of beating it. So, we've been talking about this for quite some time. People have come on here and tried to debate us and say all types of disparaging things. And at the end of the day, you have the world's best chess champion, best chess player, who was beaten by a computer, is given fair warning that AI or computers are going to come and replace a lot of these jobs. But when we say, we're the bad guys, we don't know what we're talking about. But when this guy says it, he makes headlines.
What's they call it? Fear porn?
Yeah. Bukkake.
I think we're jive talking, man.
They're putting their heads inside the sand like the ostrich.
Better the sand than up their anus. So. Engineering Cannabis says the fear of AI and machine learning is why there is contention teaching what AI, machine learning, and deep learning. Let me see if anybody's trying to come in here. All right. Next item on the docket is from Engadget.com. Porsche opens Europe's most powerful EV charging park. It does look pretty snazzy from that photo. Expand this out. Porsche just unveiled what might be your dream EV charging park. If you happen to be swinging through East Germany, anyway, the automaker has opened Europe's most powerful fast charging park in Lisbon, giving visitors a dozen 350 kilowatt stations to rapidly charge a Taycan or any compatible EV, thankfully, and another 4 delivering 22,000 kilowatt to those who just need a small top-up. There's 7 megawatts of total power, and all of it comes from renewable energy. Wow. The company is using the charging downtime as an opportunity to hawk its wares. You can visit a customer center, including the car museum and shop, and book track time at the Leipzig circuit. this is partly about bragging rights. It underscores part of the problem with EV ownership in 2020. While it's great that there's a powerful EV charging park, this is just one. Porsche would need many more of it. Many more. Yeah, this is spelled wrong. Many more of it. Many more if it wanted a comprehensive network that could keep cars going on long trips. All the same, this could be considered a peak in the future where Porsche and other companies give Tesla a run for its money when building sprawling, high-powered charging parks. I'm gonna look at that picture again. Yeah. Is it me or is Germany just a cleaner country than the United States? This picture just looks like a phenomenal place just to walk around, right? Just all clean and whatnot, and
it just looks butter dude.
Yeah. Maybe Paul Bryant could actually speak to that because I've never
He's there. Yeah.
I've never been to. Well, he's not there now, but
oh, that's right. Yeah.
Is that a rendering?
I don't think that's a rendering. I think that's got to be.
That's a picture. That looks like a picture.
It probably is a rendering, but it's a rendering of something that they've seen before, right?
Okay. I mean, if it's a picture, I mean, the place looks awesome.
Yeah, it does. It does. I don't want to say that Rwanda looks like that, but from a technological perspective, but the cleanliness is mirrors exactly what I saw over there. But that's why I'm bringing this up because I've never been to Germany, so I don't know the cleanliness factor of Germany. Oh, Emperor Augustus says Germany is clean. He said it was like that in the 80s. Why is the United States so fucking dirty? Like, what why is it always so dirty everywhere you go? I don't understand that.
Because you know why, dude? Because of excess. I don't think the Germans, they don't have excess.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, we do things in excess here.
Mm-hmm.
Our SUVs are big and our motors are loud.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like we do things in excess and we always buy new shit all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens with the shit that you just replaced?
Mm-hmm.
It spills out, dude. Like all the way on down to just like shit in your pocket. There's just shit it accumulates in your pocket and then they just throw it out on the ground.
Yeah, but
you know what I mean?
It just seems like before I started the live stream, I actually cleaned the front of my house. So I do that kind of 2 or 3 times a week. The thing is, I see the way certain people will like be at a traffic light and they'll put down their their styrofoam plate that they got from Wing Shack or whatever it was, and then they'll just leave it in the middle of the street. It's like, well, wait a second. What do you think is going to happen to that? If everyone does the same thing, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, I do. There's been times where I've been behind a car at a stoplight.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, a fucking a whole bag of wrappers and shit from McDonald's, just the whole meal. He just finished it, doop, right out the window, right onto the ground. I'm just like, well, holy goddamn. Like, really? We just gonna throw a whole bag just right there? Like you said, well, okay, is there somebody that comes around picking shit up?
Oh man, it's crazy. When I was in Rwanda, I had some kind of papers or something like that I needed to. I couldn't find a trash can at the time, so I went from the convention center all the way back to the hotel, and I took that stuff with me from the convention center all the way back to the hotel and did throw it in the trash there. That was the mentality that I had. I could not see myself opening up the window in the taxi and then throwing it out. That was just.
Germany has a different culture.
Mm-hmm.
You have to understand something. The entire country looks like this: clean, pristine, and efficient. It is their culture. It's embedded in them. It literally reflects itself in every aspect of German culture and society, endeavor, the technology, everything. Bro, even at my house in Germany, there's 5 different recycling cans. You have You have the food garbage, the plastic recycling, the metal recycling, the paper recycling. Then you have the recycling stuff for like there's the garbage, but then there's the garbage that's semi-organic, but it isn't. I mean, dude, so it's reflective of this society as a whole. So when you see charging stations, and listen, this is nothing. Germany isn't even leading the way on this yet. Scandinavia is. They're everywhere.
I've
Like
heard.
60% of the country, of the countries, Holland, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, it's EVs and charging stations. So, but Germany, of course, is catching up and they will surpass them. Remember, German cars, they still barely even have cup holders in them. That's how orderly and efficient their society is.
Mhm. That's amazing. I got to take a trip to Germany. It just looks amazing in this picture. I guess I'm assuming this must be one of Porsche's sites in Germany. I don't,
It doesn't look like the Porsche Museum. The article made mention of Leipzig, so I'm going to assume this is in Leipzig, but the entire country looks like this: north, south, east, and west. Even in the west, where I live in Cologne, it's everything looks like this.
Yeah, Emperor Augustus in the chat says everything runs on time in Germany. They are super efficient and environmentally aware. Yeah, this is gonna be on my next year, January, February. I don't know when the warm season is in Germany, but I definitely got to get out there to see this because this looks impeccable.
Mhm. Everything is like this. I mean, it's the entire country, every city. You pick the city: Cologne, Bonn, Leipzig, Bremerhaven, Nuremberg, Berlin, Stuttgart, Munich, Dusseldorf. Pick this. The entire country looks exactly like this.
I don't know if they have potholes out there. Is that something you experience out there?
Absolutely not.
Wow.
Absolutely not.
Wow. Yeah, see, when I see things like that, man, and I walk around predominantly black neighborhoods, I've discussed this many times on this channel before. Someone had, I think it was like a mayor or a city council member. It actually was a mayor, and he walked around and he said, well, how come it's so dirty around here? I mean, so much trash and stuff. But because there's no trash can. So a lot of black people had no place to store the trash or to dispose of the trash. And they started putting trash cans out there. And so they put these small 35-gallon trash cans out there, but they kept filling up throughout the day. And the trash only comes twice a week. And so by the time they empty the trash, it was filled up the next day, and it was just overfilled throughout the week. So someone in Boston came up with this genius idea to create a trash can that's solar powered, that has a weigh station to it, that connects to a Wi-Fi adapter that then sends out a message to say that I'm full and I need to be picked up to the sanitation workers. And they've solved that problem ever since. But yeah. And so the dude that made it made a bundle, because it's all over the United States now, from my understanding. The ideas behind some of these things, man, really makes you think about the culture of people. Like, well, I'm just gonna throw it right here. I'm just gonna take this St. Ives bottle, this private stock, and I'm gonna leave it right here.
Well, when I say you have to leave a certain culture and mindset behind, I get a lot of hate and pushback. I get it, I understand it, but productivity speaks for itself. So
yeah, I just think that people should be if we had more corporal punishment, like 20 lashes or something like that, then
Hey, Mike, I eat at Whole Foods quite a bit, man. And they have the bin set up, compost, recycling, and then trash. And people don't even use those the right way.
No. I'm a big stickler for recycling. So
it's culture, it's mindset. It's culture and it's mindset.
Mhm.
until my mindset conquers all. Okay, that is it. Mindset conquers all. Your mindsets shape your perceptions form your reality. Until mindsets change, nothing will change.
Mhm.
And while I agree on principle with what you just said, Mike, it has been proven. Punishments only go but so far. Ask the Soviet Union about ruling with an iron fist. How long did that last?
Yeah. All right, let me jump to the next item on the docket from BBC.com. How lake gases are powering homes in Rwanda. Lake Kivu in Rwanda contain 300 billion cubic meters of carbon dioxide and 60 billion cubic meters of methane. The gases are now being removed from the lake through the Kilowatt project with the methane being pumped to a nearby power plant. At present, only 51% of Rwandans have access to electricity. By 2024, the government hopes that this will rise to 100%, and it is hope and an expansion of the Kilowatt project will help make that possible. BBC. So I talked about this when I came back, that there was major infrastructure development happening over there, and this is one of the projects that I was actually privy to understanding that this is what they were working on. And when people say that there's no electricity over there, I had no idea what the fuck they're talking about. There was electricity everywhere I went, but in Kigali, but outside, once you get outside of Kigali, it starts to get more sparse because they haven't finished rolling out the infrastructure as of yet. But when I was there, they were working on that stuff on a daily basis, and so this is the type of stuff that's going on over there. I haven't been to this lake, but I did fly over it, so I was able to see it. But yeah, this type of stuff that's going on from the infrastructure perspective.
What if your email was organized by
Very, very important to embark on such projects so as to reduce the content of the gas and the liquid. This project is contributing about 30% to the need of the country.
Anyways, very good and informative for my signal sold myself. Anybody have any comments on it?
I think that's pretty neat, man. I say that along with some solar rules or technology with, and maybe those batteries. While you were over there, did you see like a lot of like solar type stuff?
There's renewable energies everywhere. So people who because you don't need a whole lot to power your house. A lot of what is consumption in your house is usually less than 500 watts, right? You got LED light bulbs that you probably use less than 20 watts, and then I think most of it is like a TV or something like that. It uses up a lot of power.
Okay, so once again, like Complex said, man, we have a lot of excess over here.
Exactly, Mike. Because people here in America, you're talking about this excess. You gotta have a huge oven. This oven has got to be big enough. And we put one potato in it. But the oven is a 10 cubic foot oven. You know what I'm saying? We gotta have a million different coffee makers, blenders. The African home, if it's got one blender in it, it most of them don't have an oven.
No,
So
you're right.
they use a minimum of electricity, maybe for a fan and lights in the house and a TV.
Yep.
And if you got a cell phone, you charge your cell phone and so forth.
Yep.
And the other thing that this thing shows is that Africa is not standing still. People are sitting back. I hear people talking about here on TVBT, Africa has nothing. And they're sitting back waiting till Africa has everything before they go. By the time they get there, they complain about the Chinese, but the Chinese are making money out of it. The Indians are making money out of it. The British are now, the Europeans now coming back because he don't want the Chinese to make all the money out of it. But these idiots are sitting here talking about how backward it is, and I can't go there.
Yeah, one of the things I found when I was over there is that there was tiny house. There's a tiny house movement over there, and a shipping container movement as well. And so there was this woman who was just demonstrating a shipping container that they had turned into a house, and it had just the bare minimum you needed to live. That's how they think. Very, very, very minimalist. And there was no big sink. There was no, jacuzzi inside the bathroom. It was a stand-up shower, and it had the portable wand that you use to shower with. And I actually used one of those before when I was there. I was using it, and I noticed that the time it takes for me to actually take a shower was actually significantly less than what I did when I was here in the States. So I now value, I guess, the time it takes to bathe, right? So the way the handle was set up, you could not keep it on and bathe yourself at the same time. You actually had to soap yourself and then pour down the water and then rinse off and things like that. So
Mike, it's funny. It's funny that you say that because when I had my second house remodeled, and I was at the store sizing up the jacuzzi, whether I wanted to get a 2-person jacuzzi or a 4-person jacuzzi, and the salesman said, he said, "Bro, my kids use it more than I do, and it's gonna be the same thing for you." And I laughed at him. I said, "Nah, get out of here." He said, "Yo, I'm the salesman. It is what it is, but it is such a waste. And you know what? I am here to confirm. I used that thing twice, and then over like the next year, my daughter took baths in the jacuzzi instead of the shower. I never used it again." Wow. It is such an ostentatious waste.
Wow.
Now, there were times, I use it every now and again for a little, frisky business, whatever. But really, jacuzzi is such an ostentatious waste. It really is. Which kind of explains why my third house, where I'm living now, my daughter is in her 20s. She uses it. I literally don't even use the damn thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the tiny house or the shipping container that they were trying to sell, everything was bare minimum. Everything. There was no like a marble countertop, anything like that. Everything was bare minimum. Kitchen space was bare minimum. Refrigerator was extremely slim, like a art, not an RV, a marine base refrigerator. It was interesting, man. It was very, very interesting. Sort of culture, like the way how they think, and they're building this from the ground up. And I'm like, I would have did this, and this, but that's my American thinking that everything has to be big. But in reality, the way how they were thinking, like, in order to maximize all the space, everything must be small, must be bare minimum.
Which comes back to the very same thing that I would talk about when I come through for the car chats. European cars are smaller cars built for smaller people who drive on smaller roads, smaller homes, and smaller countries. Americans are fat and wide, so the cars are fat and wide. So like I have a nice home in Cologne where I live, but you can see the physical difference. The rooms are smaller, the kitchen is smaller, so everything is it's smaller and more efficient. There isn't that ostentatious waste, that we're used to in America. And it is
Paul,
such a
because
huge difference.
you're looking at a usage thing. When you after you eat breakfast in the morning, when are you going to use your kitchen next? Dinner.
Exactly.
If you're working, dinner.
Right.
You use your bedroom in the night. When else are you going to use it? The next night.
That's it. That's it.
Understand? It would make more sense for you to have a larger sitting room, small bedroom, small kitchen. Because you sit in the sitting room, you're going to entertain in the sitting room, so forth. But
Bro,
in America, it's clearly backwards, different.
But one of the things that I noticed about Paul as well, because he kind of confirms his Caribbean side, is that he eats at the table. There is no sitting in front of the TV and munching and stuff like that. He's at the table like an adult.
I still do that, bro. I live alone, well, over in Germany and America. My daughter lives with me, but dude, I don't eat in front of the TV. I sit at the table to eat. That's the West Indian culture that I was raised up with, and I still do that. I sit at the table to eat. I don't have a TV in my bedroom. It's in the living room. The bedroom is for sleeping and smashing. No, it's not. It's not for television watching.
Well, it sounds like DE might have a different perspective. He likes to have his dumplings and his porridge while he watches the Rumble.
What? Some good dry food, some cassava and dumpling and sour fish. Boy.
With his sweet plantain.
Well, look, let me tell you something. That's something I kick my kids for. You don't eat in the bedroom. You don't eat in the sitting room. You eat at the kitchen table. When you get through, you clean up.
Absolutely.
You get lit.
What, man? Listen, you grew up with a West Indian mother. When you finish eating, you wash them Ross plates out.
Yep.
And if not, you want Ross licks with the belna or the pot spoon.
Oh shoot! Don't go there, Paul. You know how many things I get with that piece of wood?
Or the cutlass. What?
Oh my God, man!
I saw that one.
I've been smashed so many times with that thing, man.
Hell yeah, no fun.
Nowadays, you try that with your kids, man. You go to jail. So.
Yeah, well.
XD, how many times you've been arrested?
Hey, I got threatened many times. My son told me, my teacher says, I said, call your teacher right after I done beat you behind. You go call the teacher and tell her.
I was told the same exact thing.
Hey, Mike.
Yes, sir.
Hey, you just made me the co-host.
You've been the co-host since you came on.
Oh, okay. Didn't even know.
Yeah, you have the ability to advance people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We got Nagone on the panel.
Brother Nagone, good morning.
What's going on, fellas?
The consigliere is in the building.
What's going on? Talking to the minister. And
Yo, sir.
equals MC squared. What's going on?
Yo,
Guten Abend, mein Bruder.
Guten Abend. Yeah, man. So you guys are talking about houses here?
well, we just read an article about Rwanda finding gas deposits inside their lake, and they created. They're going to use it to extract energy to fulfill their energy needs throughout the country. I think they're talking about 2024. They should have like 100% capacity. When I was over there, they were actually working on that. So I did see them working on this type of stuff. So infrastructure development was really huge over there. And so the point that I was just making is how they live. I saw a tiny house that somebody was selling in a storage container, and it had the bare minimum you needed to survive. It wasn't, marble countertops and jacuzzis and stuff in there. It was bare minimum. It wasn't no bathtub. You actually stood up to take a shower. Like that's how they think. Maximizing all the space that you can with the per cubic foot. So a square foot, I should say.
So they were keeping things very efficient and so forth. Okay, it makes sense. Must be well priced as well.
I don't know. It seems like you can get something for $10,000 pretty easily over there. So, and what Johnny Blaze was asking me was that, are they using renewable energies over there? I said, yeah, they're using. You see a lot of houses with solar panels and stuff like that on it. So, no wind turbines from what I've seen, but a lot of solar panels being popped up on it.
All right. So Mike, so they did have running water over there, right?
Oh man, so much of it. So much of it. I mean, you see a lot of like, what do you call those? Water rain collection barrels and stuff like that being set up. So they have for the flash showers that come by throughout the day, you'll get hit with a lot of water real quick. And so I guess people have learned to capture a lot of that stuff, man, and use it for their own needs.
Yeah. When I was in northern Brazil, up there they had that going on a lot as well. So yeah, I've seen that in a few places.
Yeah.
All right.
Let me hit this next article from NBCNews.com. Daredevil Mad Mike Hughes dies in a homemade rocket launch filmed for TV. Daredevil Mad Mike Hughes died Saturday when a homemade rocket he was attached to launched, but quickly dove to Earth in the California desert. The stunt was apparently part of the forthcoming television show Homemade Astronauts that was scheduled to debut later this year on Discovery Inc.'s Science Channel. Discovery confirmed the 64-year-old's death in a statement. It was always his dream to do this launch, and Science Channel was there to chronicle his journey, the company said. The mishap was reported at 1:52 p.m. on a private property in the Barstow area, San Bernardino County. Sheriff Coroner spokeswoman Cindy Bachman said by email. She did not identify Hughes. A man was pronounced deceased after the rocket crashed in the open desert during a rocket launch event, she said. Sheriff Aviation investigations were looking into the accident. In the statement last year, Discovery Inc. described the forthcoming show as a look at 3 self-financed teams with sky-high dreams in their cosmic quest to explore the final frontier on shoestring budgets. Houston Saturday was billed as part of a plan to raise money for another project, a planned launch to the border of space on a vehicle described as part rocket, part balloon, Discovery said. The money raising launch had a goal of reaching 5,000 feet into the sky aboard a steam-powered rocket, the broadcaster said. Hughes is known for both his homemade rockets and for his belief the Earth is flat. Was he in the manosphere? We talked about space exploration and the possibilities behind it. And Here you have three. Here you have a competition by three teams that were looking to compete in this, and you have people, here telling you that it's a bunch of crock, to explore space. You should open up more barbershops. Everybody needs a lineup. Everybody got to get their thick beard taken care of. That's more important.
Rational thinking does not get through to a lot of people. So attempting to do so, in my personal opinion, is a waste of time. Krypton had its chance. Let them burn. Be productive, move on, and keep it moving. Never look back.
All right. All right, next item on docket is from venturebeat.com. AI is not just another technology project. AI, unlike any other initiative, is a business transformation enabler and not another technology system implementation that business users need to be trained on. Traditionally, businesses choose either the classic waterfall approach of linear tasks or the agile approach, where teams review and evaluate solutions as they are tested out. In contrast, implementing AI technology requires a different approach altogether. AI requires that you look at a problem and see if there's a way to solve it by reframing the business process itself. Instead of solving a problem with a 10-step strategy, is there a way to cut it down to 6 steps using data already available or by using new types of untapped internal or publicly available data and applying AI to it? A study by IDC last year found that 60% of organizations reported changes in their business model that were associated with AI adoption. But implementing AI successfully is proving difficult, perhaps in part because it requires such a different approach. The IDC study found that most organizations reported some level of failure among their AI projects. A quarter of the organizations surveyed reported a 50% failure rate due to unrealistic expectations. To ensure success during a period of transformation, enterprises need to embrace 3 concepts. Understand the human impact. Introducing AI is not like introducing a new software program. It will impact how employees and customers work, behave, and make decisions. AI technology in the workplace will create new opportunities for employees to learn new skills. Employees' domain knowledge is key to getting AI right, and employees are also invaluable in edge case scenarios where AI doesn't have the correct context, capability, or parameters to respond appropriately. It's important to properly define the human inputs that successful AI projects depend on and to adjust employee role to provide that support. Yeah, they're right about this. It sounds good, someone, at the C-level mentioned, we need AI, but they don't have a slightest clue of how this is going to impact the environment and how much it's going to cost after you roll it out. Software developers who involved in AI machine learning cost a lot of money. Those people don't actually command anything less than 100 G's up front. So, for example, there are medical call centers designed to respond to patients in medical trials and discourage them from discontinuing drug treatment. Employees in the call center transcribe calls for managers so they can follow up. However, natural language processing and AI can transcribe calls and highlight problem phrases that indicate an individual will stop their treatment. With this new transcribing technology, the business no longer needs employees that can type quickly and accurately. Instead, it needs empathetic workers who can intervene and provide real-time guidance to patients who are going to stop treatments. This is not simply plugging in a technology, it is altering the business model and requires more in-depth change management. This is very true. And if you're not too careful, some of these people will find themselves, out of business very quickly. Number 2, lead with design thinking. Understand the human impact is just the beginning of how relentlessly one must focus on the end user in AI implementation. Companies need to understand the goals they are trying to achieve at the human level instead of just at the business process level. How will the application improve in the individual's experience, whether that of an employee or a customer? In the past, engineers built new technologies alone at their desk based on a set of requirements. This linear approach to development is no longer sufficient. Due to the complexity of AI, a new nonlinear approach must be deployed. So this is what DevOps comes in. It's a different sort of philosophy. Learn to embrace failure. Implementation of traditional CRM is almost guaranteed to be successful. AI requires a higher tolerance for failure. Companies need to expect, fail, and learn from the consequences rather than abandoning their efforts ahead of a new fiscal quarter. Each failure leads to new insights that will ultimately create value for the company. This type of optimism is especially important because businesses will be working with unstructured data when they work with AI technologies. Unstructured data seems chaotic, but it can be an opportunity across the enterprise. For example, in the healthcare space, that population that uses Medicare is the most vulnerable segment of our society. Right now, the medical community only uses structured data like embedded notes to track patient concerns and progress. With AI, the solution can look through the unstructured notes for social determinants of health, including access to clean water, reliable shelter, and access to food through food stamps. It's not mandatory for doctors to track social factors in their notes, but AI can do this by scraping details gleaned from data. After, AI can put this information back into a structured notes and provide a new level of context. However, it takes time for AI to parse unstructured data and organize it into sets that are useful to employees across business lines. Engineers and programmers will be needed to help AI figure out how to make this data useful for other employees. That's where data scientists come in. This can take multiple brainstorming sessions, and it might not result in a profitable or useful outcome. It's important for all shareholders to understand that that these are exploratory and experimental solutions that may not yield immediate return on investment, but are essential for preparing the business for the AI revolution. Executives and shareholders looking to see results in short time period will be disappointed and tempted to scrap the implementation project altogether. Yeah, there's a lot of impatience if they don't get, if they don't see results almost immediately, then they get really impatient because they don't understand the time consumption piece behind it. So you're preparing now for something that's going to come 5 years later. They don't see the return on investment in that, and that's unfortunate. And that's why a lot of projects fail over time. So trying to get C-level buy-in is really difficult. All right, this one is from freightwaves.com. Heavy duty electric truck ditches diesel. That's why. Over 2 decades and 2 million miles, Carl Williams has driven practically every diesel-powered truck brand on the road. Now behind the wheel of an electric-powered rig, he relishes keeping his place in stop-and-go traffic and misses neither engine clatter nor the smell of diesel fuel. I never imagined I would be driving in an electric truck. The 57-year-old Williams told FreightWaves during a recent drive in a Freightliner E-Cascadia along California State Route 71. When NFI Industries, Williams' employer, became a partner with Daimler Trucks, North America's Freightliner electric innovation fleet, Williams agreed to drive battery-powered drayage routes between Chino in Southern California's Inland Empire and the ports of Long Beach and Los Angeles. Unless compelled, he won't be going back to diesel trucking. I drove all kinds of trucks over the years, he said. It's a lot of work compared to this. These trucks drive themselves. You don't get beat up. Williams' typical day consists of 2 runs, driving an empty trailer to the port and hauling a load back to NFI's site. As his truck recharges after the first run, he climbs into another E-Cascadia and repeats the round trip of just over 100 miles. They want us to put as many miles on the truck as possible, he said. That's the only way they are going to find any issues. In about 4 months, NFI's fleet of 9 electric day cabs has racked up 50,000 miles. So what is different about hauling a trailer by electric power? We drive in massive traffic here. As far as this truck goes, I barely even use the brake. When Williams takes his foot off the throttle, one of the 3 levels of regenerative braking takes over based on his selection. As the truck slows, braking energy flows to the engine, extending how far it can go before recharging. Traditional diesel engine braking forces compressed air through the exhaust valve in the engine cylinder, slowing a truck by retarding the motor in stop and go driving and on steep downgrades. The noise level is about the same as the household garbage disposal. When it's time to accelerate, each Cascadia's single gear provides immediate power. That matters during all too frequent slowdowns on California freeways when traffic begins moving. Williams keeps pace. In a diesel, he would be left behind working through gears to get up to speed. I would have the space of 2 diesel trucks in front of me. By the time I get going, 5 cars jump in front of me. He said. With this truck, I can stay right with the cars rather than being dropped back every time we stop and go. Even with the truck restricted to 60 miles an hour, Williams said he can shave 15 minutes off the drive from the ports to Chino in heavy traffic. Interesting. With advanced driver assistance systems, ADAS, like adaptive cruise control, which keeps his truck at a set distance from the vehicle in front of him, and automatic emergency braking, Williams also drives a safer truck. But he does need to keep an eye on how much charge he has to avoid being stranded. Sometimes that means turning down a dispatcher's request to deviate from a route. Yeah, this is really interesting. I'm gonna read the whole thing, but I find it interesting that they're using this sort of traditional design on the truck, but it's an electric motor. So what exactly is all the way up there in that under the hood?
I mean, you know, it doesn't seem to be as aerodynamic as like Tesla's semi.
Right, that's what I'm trying to figure out. What
Yeah.
was the decision to actually keep that traditional design?
But you know what? That's probably just somebody who just probably pulled all the old diesel stuff out and just put the batteries in the drivetrain in its place.
Yeah, but I can't see how that's efficient. Like, where's the efficiency in that? They got to be losing some serious.
Well, that's why the range is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm just curious, what brand? Who makes that?
It says it was Daimler.
Interesting. But I will say, you know, driving my Tesla, that whole braking system is great, man.
You guys hear
me? Oh, somebody just came in.
You got something to say, Complex? Maybe not. Go ahead, John Boyce.
No, I'm just saying the regenerative braking. I love, like when I come, like when I get off the accelerator, my car is coming to a stop.
Mhm.
So I use very little braking on my vehicle, and so
Yeah,
that
but
is definitely one.
if you need to brake, you just jam the brake, right?
Yeah, I mean brakes still work, but it's like, but like I said, when you're coming off that accelerator, when you let off of it, that car is going to start slowing down. So the same thing with this truck, because there's no power going. When you let off a gas one, it's still going. I mean, you're going to maintain that same speed.
Mm-hmm. But I would figure with a tractor trailer that's fully loaded, there's going to be some considerable weight coming behind it.
Oh yeah, particularly if he's doing fluid like fuel or water or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, man. Let me get to the next one.
Hey, Mike, can you guys hear me?
We can hear you now.
Oh, okay. Damn, man. All right, well, just go ahead, man. I had some thoughts on the truck and all that, but I just got home right now. My daughter's getting her hair.
All right. All right, this one's from BBC.com. Scientists discover powerful antibiotic using AI. It has been heralded by experts as a major breakthrough in the fight against the growing problem of drug resistance. A powerful algorithm was used to analyze more than 100 million chemical compounds in a matter of days. The newly discovered compound was able to kill 35 types of potential deadly bacteria, said researchers. Antibiotic-resistant infections have risen in recent years, up 9% in England between 2017 and 2018 to nearly 61,000. If antibiotics are taken inappropriately, harmful bacteria living inside the body can become resistant to them, which means the medicines may not work when really needed. The World Health Organization has called the phenomenon one of the biggest threats to global health security and development today. In terms of antibiotic discovery, this is absolutely a first, said Regina Barzilay, a senior researcher on the project at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT. The discovery was made using an algorithm inspired by the architecture of the human brain. Scientists trained it to analyze the structure of 2,500 drugs and other compounds to find those with the most antibacterial qualities that could kill E. coli. They then selected around 100 candidates for physical testing before discovering halicin. I think this is one of the more powerful antibiotics that has been discovered to date, said James Collins, a bioengineer on the team at MIT. We wanted to develop a platform that would allow us to harness the power of artificial intelligence to usher in a new age of antibiotic drug discovery. Dr. Peter Bannister, chairman of the Institution of Engineering and Technology Healthcare panel, said the method was used already well established within medical research. The same approach has gained popularity in the development of new therapeutics such as pharmaceuticals, and in the case of this research, antibiotics, where pattern recognition, including deep learning, can help sort through the vast numbers of molecules, he told the BBC. This paper goes beyond theoretical simulation and presents preclinical results, which are essential along with subsequent clinical trials to clearly demonstrate the efficiency and safety of these new AI discovered drugs. Since 2014, the UK has cut the number of antibiotics it uses by more than 77%, but the number of drug-resistant bloodstream infections increased by 35% from 2013 to 2017. Researchers added that the use of the machine to accelerate drug discovery could help bring down the cost of generating more antibiotics in the future. It comes just weeks after a drug molecule discovered by AI was set to become the first of its kind to be used in human trials. It will be used to treat patients who have obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD. The use of AI technology within healthcare remains in its infancy, but major breakthroughs continue to be made. A study recently claimed that AI is more accurate than doctors in diagnosing breast cancer from mammograms. An international team, including researchers from Google Health and Imperial College London, designed and trained a computer model on X-ray images from nearly 29,000 women. The algorithm outperformed 6 radiologists in reading mammograms. Johnny Blaze, where are you?
Hey, yeah, I'm here, man. I'm listening to that. I'm like, whoo, yeah, you're in my neck of the woods now. Because we have this program. It's called the CAD program, and it's designed to do just that. It goes behind the doctor and it reads the mammograms. But this thing now, this is a whole nother level. This is like light years beyond what the CAD program is designed to do. Because if it's reading mammos like that, pretty soon it's going to be reading every kind of medical imaging.
Yeah, it's going to be.
Yeah, I'm just like, wow, okay. As I hear this, I'm like, yeah, man, some radiologists are not gonna be very happy about this one.
Yeah, I mean, the AI, and I think the reason why it's working best for them is because the data is so accurate, right?
Yeah.
What happens when you feed a system when you feed a system data sets that are that could be flawed, then you get flawed results. But in this case, in healthcare, especially medicine, it makes it easy to come up with high quality results because the information is so accurate.
Oh, it has to be, because I mean, if you think if somebody was to try to sabotage, the only way this would work is a doctor would have to like do a bunch of like negative, like a bunch of botched results, and that's going to go against their malpractice. So they're not going to do that.
Right.
Right.
And the other thing too to that, Mike, is that the machine learning element, engineering cannabis always speaks to this. It constantly learns.
Yeah.
So as it gets results that are better than results that humans can churn out, it'll only just improve.
Yeah. And I think another key factor to this one is that so much of healthcare is electronic now. There's so much data that's just in all these systems. It can be pulled, images, reports. Pretty much all this stuff now is in some kind of electronic format.
Yeah, and that's a part of the issue, right? There's so much sensitive data that's floating about. A lot of the MRIs and CAT scans, not CAT scans, genomic models that have been cultivated over the years are actually unprotected. From a security standpoint, that stuff is like a honeypot for for the bad guys, man. So, but to that point, that so much data is being generated. A lot of it is actually proprietary to the environment that it's in. So it's not like, oh, well, we can ship this data over to this other healthcare institution or this other pharmaceutical company. There's no real way to have all this data interchangeable. It's only good within the environment that it's being generated in.
Now, I will say, in the imaging world, we kind of have a little solution for that. There's it's not a programming language, but it's called a standard. It's called DICOM. So that's how they're able to transmit images, is based on that universal standard. And I don't know about any of the other things, but at least, so we can jump different brands. We can go from GE to Fuji, Agfa, Philips, Siemens. So at least that part communicates. Okay.
This one's from Forbes.com. The amazing ways Goodyear uses artificial intelligence and IoT for digital transformation. Imagine that, you having like a sensor inside your tire and it sends data back to Goodyear. Would you be surprised to learn a 120-year-old company is transforming its business with artificial intelligence and technology? Akron, Ohio-based tire maker Goodyear might not be the first company you think of when discussing technological innovation, but they continue to announce intriguing developments and offer proof via new initiatives and products that they are altering operations to be competitive in the future. Regardless if it's autonomous, electric, or a traditional vehicle, they all need a solid foundation of the right tire for the specific demands of the vehicle. Goodyear uses Internet of Things technology in its Eagle 360 urban tire. The tire is 3D printed with super elastic polymer and embedded with sensors. These sensors send road and tire data back to the artificial intelligence enhanced control panel that can then change the tread design to respond to current road and road conditions on the fly and share info about conditions with the broader network. If the tire is damaged or if the tire tread is damaged, the tire moves with material and begins self-repair. Goodyear intelligent tires are in use now, on a new pilot program with Red Spear, a European transportation and logistics company operating in 19 countries. The fleet benefits from the tire's ability to monitor and track tire pressure, vehicle data, and road conditions. This data is then analyzed by Goodyear's algorithms to gain insights about maintenance needs and ways to improve the safety and performance of the fleet. Another tire innovation from Goodyear is the Oxygen model, another 3D printed tire that has embedded sensors connected to the Internet of Things and also uses living moss and photosynthesis to power its electronics. The self-generated electricity powers onboard sensors and AI processing unit, as well as light strip that illuminates when a driver brakes or changes lane.
Did they say that shit is powered by moss?
Yes.
Like the photosynthesis from moss?
Yes.
Wow.
The living
And it's 3D printed. Sorry.
The living moss feature may be unusual, but it shows the company's commitment to pushing and pursuing solutions to help the environment and to be relevant in the future. The tire is 3D printed from rubber powder from recycled tires. Goodyear is also at the forefront of providing tires designed for the specific needs of electronic vehicles. Traditional tires can wear up to 30% faster on electric vehicles, according to the company's testing. Goodyear's Eagle F1 asymmetric 3 tire was selected for Audi's e-tron electric SUV.
They're heavier.
Yeah. In 2015, Goodyear was the first tire manufacturer to offer tire sales online to consumers. They followed that up in 2019 with GoodyearTruckTires.com, an e-commerce solution for commercial tire dealers. In addition to transportation and logistics companies such as Red Spear leveraging Goodyear's predictive analytics, car sharing and ride-hailing services stand to benefit from the company's tire maintenance program. In a pilot program with Stratum, a company whose platform tracks and oversees fleet maintenance for more than 50 mobility services in, what just happened? 50 mobility services in North America, Goodyear's technology and tires will help maximize the fleet's uptime. With several partnerships, including Your Mechanic, Local Motors, and Envoy Technologies, Goodyear is rolling out its predictive tire servicing tools to a wider audience that touches on many transportation's hottest development areas, including mobile car repair, autonomous vehicles, and car sharing. Goodyear announced a new $100 million venture fund called Goodyear Ventures at CES 2020, dedicated to supporting startups that will facilitate sustainable, safe, and new mobility experiences. The venture fund shows Goodyear's commitment to bringing traditional and startup businesses together to propel solutions for the future. The company also unveiled &Go, a fleet vehicle servicing platform that delivers continuous care to company fleets through routine inspections and tire monitoring via Goodyear's intelligent tires, but also collects data to provide valuable predictive maintenance. One of the pillars of Goodyear's corporate responsibility mandate is the advancement of mobility focused on connected, autonomous, and electric vehicles. Along with the company's tire innovation and proactive services program, they are committed to making driving safer and more sustainable. At the operational level, Goodyear has also leveraged the power of technology to increase its productivity. Goodyear is running an Internet of Things proof of concept using sensor data from the factory floor to inform maintenance needs. Investments in workplace modernization make Goodyear operations. Goodyear operations poised to innovate even faster in the future. The company is also exploring how Microsoft HoloLens and other technologies could impact virtual tire modeling and design. I don't know about you, Complex, but I'm blown away by this.
Look, man, I don't want to hear no more shit about we're overstating the whole EV thing and where automotive technology is going. Dude, Moss powered photosynthesis powered Moss driven. I don't even know how to explain this type of technology. Like, what the hell? In a tire?
They use that to light up the tire to indicate lane changes to the.
I mean, dude, yo,
it's amazing. It's amazing.
Come on.
And to think that these sensors are actually collecting all this information and sending it back in real time on 4 tires. Imagine it.
Yo, look, man, y'all think we playing, man. Soon as 5G hits, dude, you're gonna see this shit on the streets.
No, it's already here. It's already out there.
I'm talking in deployment.
Yeah, it's already out.
Oh shit!
I want a set of these.
Well,
that I'm saying you need them for the Tesla.
Oh man, because I will tell you, the Tesla will go through some tires. I can attest to that.
It's heavier. It's the batteries.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I know that Michelin makes tires for bikes now, like bicycles. So
yes, they do. Yeah.
So they're moving into these areas, this micro transportation and stuff like that. I saw, I think it may have been Pirelli who had like an e-scooter tire, or it may have been BMW, working with BMW or something like that. They had an e-scooter tire.
Wait, when we looked at the BMW scooter?
Yeah, I think that might have,
Pirelli's on there.
Yeah.
I think those are Pirelli's on there. Because those are a that's a I think the wheels, if I'm not mistaken, on that scooter, they were like a 6-inch pneumatic tire.
Yeah, I think it might have been Continental, because that's a German brand. If I remember correctly, it's a European brand. So
okay,
one or the other. The point of the matter here is they see the writing on the wall. They know that cars are not going to be the sole bread and butter for them. They got to creep into these bicycle territory.
Yeah. Dude, Bridgestone and Dunlop make kart racing tires.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go. Imagine that though. Your tires are communicating out. You don't even know what's going on. It's recording.
That's yo.
IoT, man. We've been talking about this for over since we started doing this channel. That IoT.
Yeah, but dude, like when you something like this, man, because we know cars and shit, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like when in reading that, I'm like, damn, dude, like these are tire companies thinking about this shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But that's what happens though. They lock you in a room and they say, you got to come up with some ideas. And you're basically just, I've been there, from a IT perspective, they lock you in a room. You got to come up with business modeling, and you're in there for 2 or 3 days. And they order you food and they basically said, don't leave until you come up with some solutions.
Shit.
Hey, that's a pretty good solution, man. Right now, I'm seeing these bad boys all over the Model Y and the Cybertruck.
Mm-hmm. Crazy.
Also, when it comes to EV tires, they have to have some kind of soundproofing as well, because the car is very silent.
Right. It hum. The tires usually hum.
It's like the tread design.
Yeah.
The tread design is created to make a resonant noise.
Because I've had my original tires had it, then I went and got another set that didn't, and I could tell the difference in the noise. And now I'm back to the original set.
So wait, what's the original set? What model tires?
I want to say, I believe they're Continentals.
Oh, okay.
That's what I think that came with it originally. I'll tell you, You guys go ahead and I'll chime back in. I'm gonna go down in the garage and I'll tell you what's on there in a few minutes.
Okay. Yeah, that's bugged out, Mike.
Yeah, and then all this stuff goes to the cloud, and the cloud, AI processes it. It's just amazing.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's bugged out.
All right, this one is from Ericsson.com. This is part of their blog. 3 steps to IoT monetization. The new business opportunities that 5G will enable in IoT space for CSPs are huge. Operators need to define their positioning within this value chain to predict their addressable market size and start addressing the challenges IoT possesses for their BSS. Let's take a look at the step-by-step approach. I'll just read the nutshell. I don't want to go too far into this. Service providers are in a difficult spot. Industry digitalization is coming at full force and brings with it new opportunities to expand into new areas beyond connectivity only. The sooner operations define their roles in the 5G IoT landscape, the better chance they will have to maximize market share. A special challenge will be to address the unique complexities of different target industries. According to Ericsson's report, 5G for Business, a 2030 market compass, addressing these opportunities could enable service providers to unlock additional revenue streams of up to 35% on top of the current scope of business by 2030. Service providers will address the opportunities that 5G provides across industries in different ways or roles. Network developer, service enabler, or service creator. There are multi-layer relationships between CSPs, partners, and solution provider and end users that vary per role, and the different positioning at a different complexity level in managing all stakeholders. So just to give a brief, they're just talking about the role of each one that they mentioned. So network developer, service enabler role, service creator role. So in a nutshell, network developer will monetize connectivity by applying classic subscription based on or usage related charging models. Service enabler will monetize IoT in or edge services on top of connectivity. Service creator will mostly partner with other stakeholders to address the full value chain of a vertical segment. So what they're talking about here, especially from the service enabler side, we just talked about Goodyear's IoT-based tires. Those IoT-based tires with their sensors connected on there need to process a lot of that information very quickly, and the service enabler will put edge services in select locations so that the tires would actually that generate all this data in real time will pump it into the edge and not directly to the cloud. And so this is where 5G comes in and, actually becomes very beneficial from a monetization standpoint, because you can charge per kilobyte or per cycle or whatever the cost mechanism is going to be applied.
Yeah. That's wild business right there, man. Jeez.
Yeah.
I mean, but it also illustrates all of the areas of new growth and new business, like what all of these sectors are looking like, right? So the types of companies that will be created to facilitate all this. When we talk about jobs being impacted by this stuff, I mean, we just covered that article just earlier tonight, Gary Kasparov, and what he's saying, so it's like the new jobs are going to be in this venue, like what Mike was just talking about, edge computing, right? And all the different companies that are going to create softwares and applications and stuff to facilitate that. That's the new shit.
5G, if anything, is going to be the driver behind it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have the connectivity, you can't, other services aren't going to matter.
So everything that's going to be based on all of this, man, is stuff that's not relatable to our current, skill sets and work environment, man. Like this next realm is going to be some other shit. But,
Hey, so quick question. Yeah, no, so like with this whole 5G connectivity, how do you see, I guess, the new Starlink fitting in there? That's Elon Musk is trying to set up.
It's basically bringing high availability, high connectivity. So what that's going to do is going to allow for people in last mile areas or remote areas to actually have continuous connectivity. That's something you didn't have before. See, traditionally you would have had to roll out fiber and then copper, to get those last miles connected.
Right.
Now you just connect to the satellite and that's it.
You just launch a bunch of satellites, create a network.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, I found the tire. Okay, so right now, so the originals were actually Michelin. It's the Michelin Primacy. So that's what I'm wearing. Yeah. So that has that sound dampening. I had Continentals; they didn't have it.
Got it. Okay. So Pirelli's comes. It's the Pirellis that come standard on it.
No, it's the Michelin Primacy.
I'm sorry. You said Michelin.
Yeah, those are the standard ones.
Okay.
Yeah, the Primacies are all season tire. But I don't know if Michelin is actually doing something with. I assume that if Goodyear is doing it, I assume that everybody else must be on.
Yeah, I'm almost certain they've got their own tire tech.
I mean, they're talking about this thing is self-repairing. What?
What?
That is nuts. That is absolutely nuts.
Man, we on some science fiction level stuff now.
This stuff is already out there, man.
It's already out there, though, man. That's what's crazy about it, man. Like, look, man, we talk about all this stuff, and people think it's like pie in the sky, dude. But I got like a shit ton of IoT scooters and stuff, like in my shop. So this guy right here has it. Like, what the hell do you think is really going on?
Yeah. I know that. What's the motorcycle jacket company? Starts with a D.
Motorcycle.
Give me 1 second.
All right. Truth is, I know it as
Dianese.
What is start? Wait, what was it?
Dianese.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they make the jackets that have the airbags in them with the sensor. So if you fall off the bike, it predicts that you're going to be falling off. So it inflates the jacket into a airbag, and then you have less injury.
Okay. Truth is, I know it asks, what is Starlink? Starlink is a shit ton of satellites being launched by SpaceX to create that mobile network, or I'm sorry, mobile network, that sky-based communications network.
Yeah.
It's going to be like thousands of satellites. They're launching 60 at a time. They just launched 60 last week.
Yeah. I know Nike has a patent in place for IoT-based sneakers. They have sensors built into them. They have self-lacing technology as well. Self-improvement. That's I guess what you can call it. That's people think that we're just making this stuff up, man. This is where it is, man. Anything that can be connected is going to be connected, man.
Even scooters.
Yeah.
I keep bringing it because scooters are so benign.
Yeah.
Hey, I got one for you. I just found out at work, we use sheets at the hospital, at the university. We have all the medical training programs. I just found out our vendor, they've now put ID tags on the sheets. So basically we got to turn the sheets in every 2 weeks. If not, they can track it.
Oh yeah.
Are they RFID or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who does that on bed sheets?
Well,
the company that you guys have work with as a vendor.
They're trying to maximize all their costs. They're looking at that.
Yeah.
They probably looked at all their records and saw how much they were losing in comparison to what they were tracking.
Dude, they had a consultant come in and say, tag all your shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's. I mean, we talked about this last year. We had a live stream, I think, talking about IoT, RFID tags, Africa, something like that. I forget the name of the live stream. We talked about this early last year. We did a whole live stream on it, and all the possibilities that can come from supply and logistics and supply chain logistics and stuff like that. We talked about all that stuff, man, and the capabilities that you can have. You know, a shipper container that has a GPS sensor and it tells you exactly where your shipment is and in real time and everything that's inside the shipping container with RFID tags that keeps account of the quantity that's in there. All of that stuff gets processed into the cloud, and the cloud pushes it back down into a system that basically goes into your iPhone connected to a scanner. It's crazy, man. There's so many possibilities out there. And we talked about this stuff on the continent at the African Tech Summit. These are some of the discussions that they were having. How do you monetize all this stuff, and how do you engage a lot of these type of things, man? You know, they had the drones. Remember, they had the drone expo. You know, that talked about, man. You know, using these drones to track a lot of these type of things and deliver medicines and stuff. They're thinking on this level. Like, they're not even hiding any of this type of stuff. Like, they're really thinking on that level. And I think that when we have these conversations, sometimes a lot of it gets lost because a lot of external noises. So, all right, let me get to the next article from TechCrunch.com. Nigeria is becoming Africa's unofficial tech capital.
So we got a race going on, huh?
Yeah, I talked about this before when I came back. Africa has one of the world's fastest growing tech markets, and Nigeria is becoming its unofficial capital. The West African nation is commonly associated with negative cliches around corruption and terrorism, and it's those issues that likely influence Trump administration's recent restrictions on Nigerian immigration to the U.S. Even so, there's more to the country than Boko Haram or fictitious princes with inheritances. Nigeria has become a magnet for venture capital, a hotbed for startup formation and strategic entry point for Silicon Valley. As a frontier market, there is certainly a volatility to the country's political and economic trajectory. The nation teeters between its stereotypical basket case status and getting its act together to become Africa's unrivaled superpower. The upside of the pendulum is why, and despite its problems, so much American, Chinese, and African tech capital is gravitating to Nigeria. Whatever you think of Africa, you can't ignore the numbers. Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote, told me in 2015, noting that demographics are creating and this is behind the paywall. I'm not giving these guys $150 right now. That's just for this article. No.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
Mike, could you repeat that last line that you read, though? Regardless of what did it say?
Whatever you think of Africa, you can't ignore the numbers. Africa, Aliko Dangote told me in 2015, noting that demographics are creating. So what I talked about this before, that somebody in the chat asked me, you know, how do you see like the top 10, right? Nigeria, then Rwanda, then Kenya, then so on and so South Africa, and so on and so forth. I gave my theoretical top 10 of movers and shakers on the continent. And
would you say, quick question, would you say that on the latter end of the top 10, 7, 8, 9, and 10, those would be countries that have, say, already legalized?
No. Those would be like your Cameroon and Senegal, and those places would be in that 8, 9, 10.
Okay.
Yeah, those areas where they have political instability and political restriction and stuff like that, right?
I mean, do you rank like places like Lesotho anywhere in there?
Lesotho was more of a province than an actual country itself, because it's in South Africa.
Right.
Right. It's more of a province, but the point that I'm making here is that when someone asks me about the top 10 movers and shakers on the continent from a tech startup perspective, I mentioned Nigeria as being number one because one, it has a huge human capital marketplace to choose from, right? Nigeria has 200 million people, roughly estimated. They don't even know how many Nigerians they have because they don't really have proper identification. So we don't know what the true actual demographic is. We just know it's around 200 million.
So they estimate around 200,000. 200
million.
I'm sorry, 200,000, 200 million.
Yeah, and so you think about the United States. The United States has 320, roughly
334 million, something like that.
Right, and at least 17 million of them are undocumented and not legally, not legally binded to the system. And so they're projected by 2050 that Nigeria is going to rival the United States from a human capital standpoint.
And so, would that be because they will have an infrastructure that would give us like a true indicator of like what their demographic numbers are?
Yeah. And plus you're going to have a lot of people returning back. And right. So when you think about this, it makes sense that Nigeria would become the unofficial tech capital. But that's why you see a lot of other countries in Africa trying to step it up because they don't want to get left behind either. Nigeria has a very, very, very vibrant tech sector. Most of the people that I met who had very strong startups at the conference came from Nigeria. Mm-hmm. Nigeria was in it deep. You had PhD lawyers who were working on blockchain and regulatory what's the term? Smart contracts. You know, so okay. Automating parts of the regulatory frameworks and stuff like that, legal frameworks into smart contracts and stuff like that. Just butterweight stuff, man. Butterweight stuff that they were talking about doing. And it was coming from Nigeria more than anything else. You had South Africa in the building too, but you know, many other African countries too, but Nigeria was in there heavy, putting in some serious work in terms of some of the conversations that was being had. And I met so many brothers from there who had startups, man, who were really putting in some serious work. It's like, you know, like everything that you were saying on stage, not on stage, but after the event, you know, here's my business card, you know, let's chop up some games. So they're open for business. You know, they're talking about networking and stuff like that. That's why I went over there. So I was ecstatic to hear so many guys, man, you know, just some of them, you know, like the one brother I met, I forget the name of his company right now, but his startup basically focusing on giving rewards points to people who make purchases in Africa, you know, mostly the Nigerians, that he's working with these online marketplaces and the credit card companies, the debit card companies and whatnot. And he created, you know, these sort of rewards that are put into cryptocurrencies.
I like it.
Hey, Mike, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to ask you, when you were over there, did you happen to, I guess, were there anybody like from Liberia by chance?
Yeah, there was some Liberians there. There was some Liberians there.
Okay, that's my brother-in-law. He's from there.
Yeah, there was some in there. You had a little bit of everything from the continent. The Egyptians, Algerians, a lot of Ethiopians there, a lot of South Africans were up in there deep. It was just crazy. You had to experience it for yourself to really understand the significance of Pan-Africanism in real time.
Okay.
You didn't have any hate and anything like that. It was just people just really just vibing with each other and stuff like that, just sharing ideas. So crazy. All right, let me share my screen. Get to the last item on the docket. All right, this one is from RT.com. Ghana, the first world electronic scrapyard inputs thousands at risk of cancer. So
if I will go to pick something, come where the smoke they enter your chest, no go feel breathe well. Your chest is tied to the pain.
Sometimes I can feel way too much of the fire. I can sick. They go send me to hospital to put me more water.
And my headache, because of the heat they enter, and the pain.
Estimation that European Union exports every year around 350,000 tons of electronic waste.
It can be transgenerational transfer. I can pass it to my child, and my daughter can also pass it.
I reiterated before you my pledge of improving sanitation in the country and making Accra the cleanest city in Africa.
So I added this to the docket because we had a discussion earlier about actually this came from the docket from about a week or so ago, but I'll add it. I added it again. So point that I'm making here is that Africa as a whole, not just Ghana, has a recycling problem. Plastics, hazardous computer waste. A lot of your U.S. government computers end up in the landfills over there. It's been proven. There's actually a documentary talking about this. Not even just the landfills, but they just dump it inside Africa because they pay the African governments to actually dump this stuff over there. They actually have no idea what's coming when it does end up in there, and they can't ship it back. Philippines had this problem under Duterte, and Duterte sent the waste back to Canada and told them, don't ever send your waste back here again. I don't care what the problem is or what kind of problem you got with it. And so they're starting to stick it back to the West. Point that I'm making here is that there is an opportunity to actually come up with a recycling solution, breaking down tires and recycling them and turning them into other sort of fixtures and stuff like that. Hemp-based integration and stuff like that. Like retired these recycled rubbers and whatnot.
There's a lot of money in so, and Mike, you can attest to this. Scrapping computer parts, right? More specifically, the gold off of the boards.
Yep. Even the metal, right? So the
all the other metals as well. All the other metals.
The metal shielding around the computer, right? The computer case itself is actually recyclable. If you had a process to break it down. The only problem that you would have is the monitors, like those old cathode ray tube monitors that got dumped over there. There's nothing you can really do with those. Because they have mercury in them, and there needs to be a process to actually break all that stuff down. I know that Rhode Island is one of the most efficient states in the country that hazardous waste management in terms of sanitation. And so the point that I'm making here is that it doesn't sound glamorous, but there is a industry for sanitation pickup and recycling. How do we take all those plastic bottles and glass bottles and stuff and break them down and turn them into reusable products? Whether you're talking about making fabrics with hemp or creating a whole house, a 3D printed house out of the plastics that in rubber that was broken down.
Yeah, so I think, Mike, what would be a good idea maybe even is to figure out a way to turn, say, like plastic bottles into like PLA. So like you could use it for 3D, you use that as the filament.
Right.
Oh, that's a good idea. Hey, Mike, you guys did a live stream a few months back about potholes being refilled using different types of materials.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, you could even
some
use
guy
it.
some guy came up with a solution to actually
Yeah.
mix up, broken, not broken, but rubber from old tires and break them down into the asphalt and actually create a more stronger bond within the
Right.
Because the
So
asphalt breaks up.
Yeah.
It has a very loose wear cycle, especially out here in California. I mean, as soon as it gets hot, it starts to become tar again.
Yep.
Well, what I'm suggesting is, I'm thinking take that solution, combine it with what you just said, complex, and maybe find some way to bring these two things together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I follow exactly what you're saying. So you basically you can go out and I wouldn't say use a 3D printer, but it's the same thing. You create like a filament.
Yeah.
Right, to fill road gaps and stuff.
Yeah. But I'm thinking, we apply that on a much larger scale, going beyond road, just because I'm saying, all this stuff in these landfills can be somehow reused, to like build, things.
That's the thing. So much of this stuff is plastics based.
Yeah.
Right. That we see, Mike, fucking around putting out a lot of ideas. There's so much plastic.
This is the sort of conversations that they were having.
No, I get it. No. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm laughing, dude. But no, in all seriousness, there's so much plastic out there. Yeah. And when you look at what 3D print filament is, it's plastic.
It's plastic.
So you can basically take all this shit that people can't really find a use for, and then turn it into something that you can now build shit with.
Yeah, that's the sort of conversations that they've been having over there. And they said anybody who has any ideas that think they can help, you're more than welcome to show up. And so they've opened up the market for that. And I've talked about this before about special economic zones and things of that nature. You're going to need trucks to move a lot of that waste. A lot of CDL drivers, a lot of, there's a whole entire system, logistical system that is involved in all of this type of stuff. And, we're not at the table because we did not,
Dude, wait a minute, Mike, like literally, dude, top to bottom, you literally go into landfills, the damn material is free. It would kind of be akin to like prospecting for gold in some ways, right? Mm-hmm. Because you're gonna go dig and find something that is of value or that you could turn into something of value, right? Mm-hmm. So you go to a landfill and there's plastic in abundance. Mm-hmm. And basically, what's up, D?
Go ahead. Hey, the landfills in Africa are not really what landfills per se.
No, they just dump it.
What happens is that, well, especially I never gone to East Africa, but West Africa, around like Ghana, Gambia, Sierra Leone. What they do is just dump all this stuff in a big open field, and they just set it ablaze, and it burns night and day.
But no, what I was talking about, because Mike made mention of like ADOS, like leveraging these types of things, right? To you know what I mean? That it was more because he mentioned kind of like an ADOS angle, and then I said, well, yeah, like dude, there's like an abundance of plastic in landfills.
Yeah, but who is the ADOS that you are talking about? I mean, because the ADOS that I hear talking about Africa.
Here comes the E.
It's not anything to be listened to. You understand? There's very few people that I hear talking about Africa that is worth listening to at all.
No. I think he's just saying it from a generalist standpoint. From a general standpoint, the opportunities who are into business. I think that's.
Yeah, I was kind of exploring like the business angle of it, right? Mm-hmm. Like there, you have an abundance of material. Mm-hmm. And the idea I was kind of basing it on was just converting plastic into printable filament. Yeah. That's really, and I was just kind of like, well, dude, like, because we were talking about like what are ways to reclaim like waste, or not necessarily waste, but how do you repurpose things? That was really kind of the angle I was taking. And one thought that kind of came to mind was, you know, plastics and PLAs and filaments and stuff like that, and how you have an abundance of this shit in landfills. Maybe just like a month and a half ago, you know, me and my pops went and dumped a whole bunch of we got trees trimmed, and we loaded up the truck and took it out to a landfill. And I went out there and I'm like literally looking at what people dump. Like this, that's why this conversation kind of sparked the idea, because just about a month ago I was out of the landfill. And good.
One of the things that Africa needs is infrastructure, roads, and the things that you're talking about there. I've been looking at some of the technology that they're putting out, and they actually mixing the plastic with tire material, and putting into the asphalt, and it makes the asphalt stronger.
That's what Johnny Blaze was just mentioning.
And
yeah.
Africa really needs the roads, and they need the roads because the type of roads they need are the strong roads, because the roads during the rainy season, those roads can fall apart because the water gets inside underneath the pavement and tear up the roads. So that would be a good idea for Africa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was kind of what Johnny Blaze was mentioning. You use a tire-based material, right, to repair roads with.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anybody want to be a dumpster diver?
But that's you a dumpster diver, but in Africa, that's a real job.
No, that's a real necessity that they don't know what to do with it.
Yes.
They have not come up with a proper solution. I mean, in the West, you know, in America, we have proper solutions. I mean, not the best, but the most basic solution to handling hazardous waste and stuff like that, man. And so the point that I'm making here is that if you can figure out what to do with one of the materials, man, you just start, you know, from first base. You know, what to do with the plastics. Okay, how do you recycle the plastics? Okay, number two is what do you do with the broken down computers? Well, we can at least do something with the chassis. We can at least recycle the chassis itself because they're made of metal anyways. And then the other portion is the plastics on the monitors. We'll take the plastic on the monitors and recycle those too. We'll figure out a way to bond all that stuff together with some kind of adhesive and stuff like that and break it down. And then number three is what you do with the electronics. Well, you're gonna have to. There's a lot of Africans who need jobs. Well, they need to extract the gold from those monitors, man. And
Mike, what about coming up with ways to repurpose the boards?
It depends on what the board's made out of. If they are, ROHS, then they can be recycled. But if they're not, they're not really of use.
Right.
Now you can probably if the circuit boards, the logic boards are actually not damaged, and you could probably repurpose it for.
That's what I was. Yeah, that's kind of the angle I was taking.
Like a printer that has like different logic boards for moving the trays and stuff like that around on a big printer on the MFP. Right. Yeah, you can probably repurpose those boards and those motors for like 3D printers or something like that.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about. That right there. Yep.
Or you might be able to you might be able to utilize some of those cable ribbons and stuff like that, those stuff like that to connect other devices and stuff like that around. There needs to be a proper process and a top-down level process, because you're gonna have to pay people to actually bring you some of the trash, unless you plan on digging it up yourself.
Yeah, either that or you go around and you accept people's old electronics, and then you go through and you start scrapping stuff. Like even like a lot of those wireless printers, they have modems on them, or I'm sorry, the Wi-Fi antennas on them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So things like, especially like that, if they work, dude, pull Wi-Fi chips, stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, whoever can come up with the ability to create a dumb phone or a feature phone out of the recycled plastics and whatnot, man, you're gonna be a very wealthy person.
Now check this out. You know what? You know some other shit I seen, dude. What dudes do is they'll reclaim the cameras off of old cell phones. Okay. And then wire up a home security system using the cameras from the cell phones, dude, because you can hide them in shit like pictures and books and stuff.
Yeah.
And then they have like a fucking like Raspberry Pi or some shit running it.
Yeah. Yeah, whoever can come
I've
up with
seen that shit set up too.
Yeah, whoever could come up with a cell phone that can last, 30 to 45 days on a single charge, man, it's going to be a very, very prosperous person. You don't need to have a color screen per se on every cell phone, as long as it's monochrome and it's actually legible, and does has some basic telephony purposes, man. It actually serves a purpose over there. When I was over there, I saw a lot of people who had more than one cell phone. They always had a dumb phone on them.
Mm-hmm.
And that dumb phone, it was just used for communication purposes. But from a technology perspective, yeah, that you saw a lot of Huawei's and things like that, ZTE phones and stuff like that over there.
What about even like, and this is like maybe. Well, you give me your take. What about like retro modding?
What do you mean by that?
So a retro modding would be like taking something.
But what context are you using it in?
Like taking something that can be upgraded and making a new variant of it, just based on an implementation of upgrades across the board.
Yeah, that's a very unique. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, you talking about like taking some old piece of tech and just adding some different things to it so it functions now.
Exactly, retro modding.
Okay. Like those old Nintendos, I've seen them like take the case of a Nintendo and use it in a cell phone or something.
It's like taking, well, I guess so. Yeah, like that. Like
I guess retro modding would be like taking the old Mac G5 case, putting PC components in it.
Or using a hybridization of components and then maybe adding new components to it, making it something like a different variant. What I'm saying is that it's another form of repurposing.
Well, that's not a bad idea, because now what Mike was saying earlier, that those CRT monitors, there's no real use for those things, but maybe with a remodification there could be.
Not necessarily. what would you plug it into?
Oh, I'm thinking just the case itself. I mean, the monitor's probably no good.
Oh, you mean
like what you were saying, like
a fish tank or something? But
yeah.
that's it. I don't know many Africans who want fish tanks in their houses. Man. You come back, you should be eating. But yeah, I mean, you just have to break those monitors down. And I know the main challenge here isn't so much about the process, but how are you going to hold all of these components? Where are you going to hold it at? You have to create a facility that's going to be able to manage all of these things. And so that's where the challenge is, because it's not. You have to build all that stuff from the ground up. You have to build lay down the concrete slab on the floor and create, throw up the metal structure and stuff like that to house a lot of these things, man, and then make sure that a lot of that stuff doesn't leak out into the environment. I mean, it's already an environment, but you want to make sure you're not spreading the disaster any further than what it is. And so there's a lot of OSHA sort of standards and protocols that you may have to follow at some point.
Well, no, if we were talking any type of waste handling of any kind, you're gonna have to deal with OSHA.
Yeah. Well, OSHA's not there.
Well, I mean, not deal with OSHA, the OSHA guidelines, basically, OSHA standards, right? Because if you're
best practices.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Because at my shop, we had to do it because we kept shit like oil and shit like that on the premises, right? And then there was like motors all over the goddamn place that have oil, and then there's also gasoline, and there's also batteries. You know what I'm saying?
Well, see, that's the part of like the continent's problem as a whole is that their vehicles don't provide a lot of maintenance on their vehicle. So a lot of times you'll hear cars squeaking because that's metal to metal brake
On the
pads.
brakes and shit. Yeah, the brakes.
Brake pads on their motors, right? Because it's already worn out, and you see a lot of blue smoke coming out of the exhaust because that is running rich. So
Yeah, either that or it's burning oil.
yeah, right. So they don't do a whole lot of maintenance on it. So there's a necessity to actually have a very long-lasting, self-sufficient vehicle that can go miles, 20 or 30,000 miles without any sort of.
Well, I think what would you say that maybe like the precipice upon that is they either have lax, to say the least, or non-existent smog standards, because
They use European smog standards.
Okay.
Yeah, in some areas they use European smog standards.
And I'm assuming they're not nearly as stringent as, say, like California.
There's people out there. There's traffic enforcement out there. At least when I was there, there's traffic enforcement out there. But your car would have to be a disaster in order for it to be, in order to.
Okay, so like if you just run on smoking, they're not like looking at that shit like, hey, pull over for a second.
Yeah, if you're moving at pace, they're not going to pull you over. But if you're stopped and you're dripping oil and antifreeze and stuff like that, then yeah, somebody's gonna dock your car.
So someone like they have like very small, if any, environmental standards, or like just when it comes to the vehicle.
He said it's European. It's based on European standards.
Yeah, loosely enforced.
That would be what is that? What is their regulatory body there?
I don't know. But the point that I'm making here is that a lot of their cars come from Europe or come from Japan, right? Or come from China. And so they just kind of adopt whatever framework that they're using, but they don't actually enforce it. There's no real way to enforce it. How are you going to pull over 100 cars on the road?
Well, yeah, especially if you're importing the cars from the countries that made the cars based on that country's standards, for example.
It's all imported.
Yeah.
It's all imported.
Right.
It's hard to get a perfect.
How do you make yeah, I got you.
It's hard to get a perfect measurement for, what should be the standard. Is it 2-liter engines or is it, 1.6 liters?
1.6.
Yeah,
right.
It's all over the place, man. So I don't know. I know they discussed that, by 2045 there will be no, by 2050 there will be no more gas or diesel-based vehicles allowed into the country and stuff like that. How much they're going to enforce, I don't know. And so electric vehicles are far-fetched ideal for them because they don't have the infrastructure to it.
I was gonna say, man, that's kind of your open door, right?
It is to a certain extent, but they're minimalists, right? They don't really like, having a big EV charging park is the last thing that they're thinking about, right? They're more
yeah. So look, so minimalist EVs would be the market.
Yeah.
Well, okay, minimalist EVs, and then what we talked about on previous hangouts, obviously the bikes that we're starting to already see being deployed.
Yeah.
So electrification across the board. But if you're going to talk, like a new set of standards, you may as well start with something small and simple, like a simple EV platform that is kind of just like the base level of what you get there, right? In terms of an EV. And as things mature, the economies mature, mature, and trade matures and all of that, then you start to make your regulatory framework a little more sophisticated. You scale it up, but you start with something simple. Right now you have nothing.
Well, look, they're gonna have to start. Right now, Europe is moving towards electric, and the Chinese are already moving towards electric.
Exactly.
So, with Africa buying cars from both sides, they bring in a lot of cars from Europe, and on the east side of Africa, they bring in cars from Japan, China. So with both ends of the spectrum, the only people who are not moving rapidly towards electric is the U.S. And though they bring in cars from the U.S., not as many as from Europe, because you go over to Africa, you see a lot of Mercedes, Volkswagens, and European cars and trucks.
Yeah, and they had some brand new things, man. When they took me from the airport, that was a 2020 Volkswagen Atlas. I said, man, this thing is butter leg. But and there's a lot of them out there. So what the point that I'm making here is that you see very few American cars over there, mostly because American cars are just massive in size. And so I think the biggest American car I saw was a Lexus ES 350. And that's a big car for that environment.
Not only that, but you know, a lot of the cars, a lot of American, they don't have the mechanic framework to work on like US cars like that. Because
No,
a lot of cars have their own proprietary testers.
Well, what you will see
diagnostic stuff.
Hey, Complex, what you'll see in Africa is that they'll bring a car over there and they will take the engine out.
Yep.
And put in an engine that doesn't need all of the
Are you kidding?
All of the
Oh,
I'm serious.
shit.
They will take a Lexus.
Wow.
They will take a
They'll take the motor out of a
2000
Lexus?
2015 Lexus. Bring it over there, put a diesel engine in it.
Yeah, because they don't have to pay the
wow.
You don't have to pay the tariff. If you look at a lot of their regulatory bodies, even in the Caribbean, you have to pay.
What, like if you import it without the motor or something?
Yeah.
No, you bring it in with a gasoline motor, and they just take out that, put a 4-cylinder diesel motor. It might be Mercedes or Isuzu.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Put a Isuzu and a
Africans,
Lexus.
look, Africans are very. People talk about Africans, but Africans are very intuitive, bro. They will.
Wow.
I've seen them strip down a car. I seen a guy bring a truck over there, take out everything off of that, take off everything from the undercarriage, move the steering wheel from the left side to the right side.
Oh shit!
Oh, wow.
And rebuild that truck. And when that truck was running, he took out the big 8-cylinder diesel motor and put on the 4-cylinder diesel motor.
Keeping it real simple.
Yep.
And well, wait, no, he didn't keep it that simple. That motherfucker converted it to what? Right-hand drive?
Yes.
Damn.
But it's probably simple for them. That's what they're used to working.
That's what because he's saying that's what they do. I had no idea, dude. That you
look, if they had the technology, they would be. Well, there's a guy in Nigeria building his own cars now. But if they had the technology over there, if you get a few of those guys together and say, look, let's build a car.
They
and
can
put a
do
factory,
that shit.
You build a huge garage. I don't know, probably about 5,000 square feet.
Yeah.
Tell them,
get a
look,
shop.
we want to build cars. If you can bring a frame in there, they will build a car. They will find an engine, find seats. I seen them build. Look, brother, you gotta go over there.
No, DE, we did the build an EV chat like 2-3 weeks ago. Like dude, okay.
Well, the thing is, electrified vehicles are not directly compatible with the environment over there, and that's a part of the issue, right? They don't have the infrastructure available. The electricity that's available,
you're right.
It's just available for the infrastructure, the environment itself, and not for an electric vehicle to plug in.
Hey man, I can always slap a gas motor on one of the open motors designs.
Well,
I can put a gas motor on that bitch.
You can, but then what happens when the thing is, infrastructure is the big key here. So how do you roll out infrastructure that's going to be attainable for that sort of initiative? Because you can't just roll the car over there. You got to plan out the infrastructure throughout the environment itself.
No, I mean I would do it. I would do it as an open source project, right? So that's the thing. It would be an exercise in scaled production. It wouldn't be anything that you go over there and just roll out in mass. That was never even like my own business model, right? It would be based on like, contract requirements if I acquired one. But other than that, it was going to be like a 3D print, build it when it's ordered type of thing, So there, it would be something similar. But I mean, based on what DE was just saying, I'm like, dude, open motors should be like the perfect platform to run that out on. Because it doesn't have to be, EV. It doesn't have to be.
Okay, but one of the things that's happening, like I was saying just now, is that the Europeans are going electric. and the Chinese are going electric. So pretty soon,
But then there's that
that's going
part.
to begin to change in Africa. So if you have the investment, if you can invest in EV charging station, if you don't need that, suppose you can use the available power, and then when that power is lost, you have a backup system, your own generator, for instance.
So you can make solar powered EV stations. I mean, have like a battery system that'll charge. Yeah.
Right.
Look,
if you can do that, then if you can do that, when electric cars do come to Africa in force, then you'll be prepared. You know, if you can watch the situation and say you estimate like 5 years down the road, you're going to see a change coming. Then you plan on it. That 5 years down the road, you can start setting up.
So DE, let me business model it for you. You take the Open Motors platform because you can do it gas, you can do a hybrid, you could do it electric. So with all three variants, that would allow you to transition, right? And you can scale based on what phase of the transition we're in off of one platform.
Stuff can change. That stuff can change overnight, man.
Right. The second, and here's the right. So here's the thing: you pull the gas motor off, and you just go strictly electric, and then boom, there you go. Right.
That's not really how. I understand what you're saying, but that's not really the culture there, right? You know,
right.
People rely on their cars for, for immediate use, and they don't. It's not a luxury to them, right?
No. I'm merely talking about how you leverage what DE was saying, the ability of dudes to do the ability of what those dudes do there. And what DE said was like, if you had a shop, what was it that you said, DE?
He had, say, 5,000 square foot shop, and you can provide a frame. And this guy can build a car on it. He can build a bus on it. He can build a van on it.
Okay.
Van.
What is that, Mike?
He can bring in a motor, put it in the motor. He can bring in the dashboard, put it in. They can make put on that thing.
That's one vehicle at a time. That's not a massive fleet.
And that's what I'm talking about, dude, because the Open Motors is totally scalable. So however you do it, what I'm saying is that would be the perfect thing to utilize for something like that. I literally just thought about it because look, if I'm in my mind, if I had a 5,000 square foot shop, what would I do in it? I'd build an electric car that I got free plans for. That's the perfect way for them to bootstrap something, dude. The plans, the design, it's free. And that was really my point. I just thought about it. I was like, well, shit, dude, that would be like, damn, I could see it. I could see somebody growing. You already had some dude already build his own sports car.
Now, Complex, would you try to automate any of this or put like any kind of heavy machinery? Leave it all by
No, because now we go back to what Mike and DE's concerns are. Right? So it has to be something simple. Dude, the Open Motor shit is simple. That's a simple build. I got it priced out. For me to get it spec the way I wanted to do it, because there was customization, it was going to be 8 to 10 grand. But if you do it based off of just what it is, it's like 3 grand. And that's if you go to a shop and have them do it for you. In DE's model, he's like, well, look, you have a 5,000 square foot workshop. You have free plans to a vehicle that you can wholly own and brand it and get the patents on it for yourself under your license or however you set it up there. And you can bootstrap. It's a way to bootstrap. Like, dude, what I just mentioned didn't really require a whole lot. And that's all I was talking about when you really think about what it would cost to start a Tesla, for example. Okay, yeah, you don't have the money for that.
Hey, I don't know if you ever heard about Jeepney, but that's what guys in the Philippines do.
Yeah.
They build a Jeepney from scrap.
Yeah.
What?
A Jeepney is a transportation, a form of transportation it can hold up from about 10 to about 25 passengers.
Yeah, it's basically the old Korean War vehicles that were left behind, and they've repurposed them basically for micro transportation, basically.
Okay.
Medium transportation. So it's like a small It's like a small minibus, but
Right. They took a Jeep. They took a World War II and Korean era Jeep, and they extended the chassis.
Yep.
Oh.
The same four-cylinder engine, four-cylinder diesel. Right now they use Isuzu diesels, Mitsubishi diesels, four-cylinder.
So they extend the chassis and lengthen the drive shaft.
Exactly.
Wow.
And made a longer body, you know, and you get in from the back. You enter from the back, exit from the back.
Yeah, I saw a video the other day of them actually electrifying the platform. So and I saw that Thailand has actually created an autonomous version of it as well. So basically a self-driving version of it, basically like small trolleys. So
you could even at some point in the future you could integrate all that stuff into that same Open Motors platform.
So I do got one question about this, and it sounds great, but what do you guys see about the return on investment of all this?
You got to play the long game on this.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got to play the long game on this. So what that's going to require is strategic partnership, right? So that means capital investment from people that may not look like you. You got to play the long game on this.
yeah, every African country is very unique in its perspective. So, but the culture is mostly all the same. So your roads and your policies and stuff like that are going to affect vehicle deployments and stuff like that, vehicle development. And so that's why you see certain African countries, you know, they take a lot of Japanese cars or a lot of Chinese cars, especially Japanese micro cars, the key cars and stuff like that. They'll drive around in those, and because the roads actually are more tolerant to them, more tolerant and accepting to them. Something like a Humvee would never be sustainable over there. It uses up 90% of the road. It's just not sustainable. So there's different perspectives when you go over there. That's why you see a lot of motorcycles being used, because they're more affordable. It's just
right.
viability of it. And so
right. Less to gas them up, and maintenance and everything.
You don't see Western style buses over there.
Right.
It'll take you. I don't know if you know the type of van that Prime uses, or UPS.
Yeah.
Most of those what you see being used as buses over, say, mostly in West Africa. You go to Nigeria or Cameroon, or those are you see that they put 20, 25 people in one of those things.
Yep, it's basically a shuttle over here, a shuttle that will take you from the from the hotel to the airport. Is actually being used as a primary bus over there.
Damn, really?
Yeah,
yep.
You'll see.
Yeah, I had 6 of them. I had 6 of them in Gambia about 5 years ago.
Yeah, in Barbados they call them minibuses.
Minibus, yeah.
Yeah. You got to keep up with that thing. If you miss the bus and you get dragged, that's your fault. You fall off, that's your fault. So,
but
I
transportation.
want to say I've seen videos of that type of shit.
Right. If you want to get in transportation business, like I was saying, Complex, you can build your own. You know what I'm saying? I build my own. No. If I build 50 of those and I ran them all over, say, Nigeria or Ghana, you making that's a big business.
Look, man, that's why I see it how you talking, because dude, my whole model was scalability, man. I wasn't starting doing no mass production. It was all about build to order type stuff, you know.
Right.
So I could totally see it, bro.
So DE, you're saying come at this thing more so like being a transportation provider, more like a bus / taxi cab kind of service.
Yeah, you can either build them for yourself or sell them.
Right.
And there are people who will buy them from you, because right now they're importing from Europe. And what they do is importing the used vehicle, bringing them to Africa, strip them down, paint them, rebuild the engine or whatever is needed, and then put them on the road.
Okay.
And with the Open Motors platform, man, just check out the it's a new vehicle. It's scaled construction. Scaled manufacturing, like what DE said, like it's the perfect platform to do it with. You could literally build one car at a time if you wanted to.
Exactly.
Like if it's just a one car at a time, one car at a time.
Or if somebody comes to you and says, look, I need 3 cars or 3 buses or whatever the case might be, you expand your chassis, you expand your chassis to you know, to make the bus. You take the car chassis, extend it, make the bus. You know what I'm saying? You build a frame to accommodate whatever your customer wants. And it will cost less than if you buy this thing in Europe or China.
Imagine that.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities over there, man. Like I said before about the previous video with the recycling issues and or sanitation issues inside Ghana. Liberia is actually worse. Ghana.
Yeah, my brother-in-law's from there, and you know it was interesting about like he went back home. I think about 3-4 years ago to go visit, and he said it's actually much worse now than it was back in the 80s.
Yeah.
You know,
Wait, where?
Talking about
where?
Liberia.
Oh.
Yeah, because he was saying like they had running water, all these things back in the 80s. Now here it is 2015, 2020. They're getting their water out of wells using hand pumps.
Yeah, because they
get out
and they sabotage their systems.
Yeah. Because one thing he said, and I'm not familiar with this term, but something called NGOs.
Yeah, non-government organizations.
Non-governmental organizations.
They are horrible. They really set the place back.
Yeah, because that's their job, right? Their job is to provide, sustainable solutions, and the idea is to drag the process out so that they continuously have work.
Well, the French are good at that. That's what the French are doing. That's what they're doing in Cameroon now. Cameroon used to be similar, especially the not the Francophone side, what they call the English side.
Yep.
The roads used to be great. Then they joined with the French side, and the French just destroy the country using this one president they got in there.
Yeah.
So when the NGOs come in now, guess what? The only thing that's there is the NGO.
Right. And they're the ones who kind of decide that, it would require this sort of investment to to sustain it and things like that. That's why, we did a live stream about this a year or so ago that talked about social entrepreneurship. And we got a lot of pushback because people say, oh, socialism, you niggas are socialists. And so the idea of socialism, social entrepreneurs is that the social entrepreneur is basically a company that partners with the government to provide services or social impact initiatives that help the government reach their goals. So, for example, how do you provide a community internet to a village that has no infrastructure? Well, you use the TV white spaces to deliver broadband access over it using the infrastructure that's already there, the TV white spaces. All you have to do is hook up.
And that was a talking point for late 2018. I would say dig around in the archives because we talked a lot about white space utilization back then.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of that available on the continent, and a social entrepreneur or an impact entrepreneurship company would do exactly that. And the money that goes to NGOs should actually go to social entrepreneurs to actually reach their goals. And so NGOs suck up a lot of money from governments and then they just do nothing with it. And the people who are supposed to be providing solutions, for the environment itself, they don't actually do anything with it. They actually put the money in their pockets. And that's why it's so lucrative for them to actually keep doing that. And so I think some of that is starting to change now from the conversations I've heard this month. But it's still a problem like DE and I myself is speaking about. So in the Black community in America, this is some of the ideas that we have been kicking around ourselves. How do you, which is why we had that discussion a couple of years ago. how do you transform Black environments? Well, you would do that by creating these social enterprises that would actually partner with city and state governments to actually provide solutions to the environment that Black people live in. But there's so much pushback in these discussions because people don't really understand what a social enterprise is. They really just think that they hear the term social and they automatically reject it because they call themselves capitalists and they look so fucking stupid.
Yeah. It kind of reminded me of something that MOT had mentioned a few months back. I remember one of his little projects he was working on, helping boys, improve their reading. But because their reading scores improved, the schools weren't getting any money. They want these things shut down.
Yeah, because the schools get money based on special education.
Yeah.
And so the more students they have enrolled in special education, the more money they get.
More money. And
so if you start improving their comprehension skills and stuff like that, well,
we can't have that now, can we?
Because it's all based on school lunches and transportation and stuff like that. When they apply for these federal grants and stuff like that, and so or federal funding, I should say, and that's why you have so many people pushing back. A lot of people trash Umar Johnson, but this is part of the reason why his agenda is always being sabotaged. It's always being sabotaged because of this very reason. He knows this, so this is what he's fighting against. Despite what anybody wants to say about him, this is exactly what he's going up against. There is an agenda to keep those Black males in a perpetual cycle of failure.
Yeah. And of course, now
the school boards throughout the United States is a political organization run specifically for the leadership of the school boards and the mayors and governors of that state.
Right.
Has nothing to do with educating their children.
Nope, it's indoctrination, but they have it's all a racket.
Yeah.
It's a complete racket. When I brought up the idea of actually transforming, some of these schools into be EV charging stations by putting solar panels on the roofs and on the walls of the schools to actually collect enough energy to actually provide, 20 parking spaces with charging stations. Oh no, we can't have that. No, what do you mean? It's public infrastructure. That's where your tax dollars pay for all this type of stuff. Well, basically what they said was, it sounds good, but the people who make these decisions it's the optics that they don't like, that you're providing electric, charging infrastructure inside predominantly Black environments. They think that those people need something that's more tangible, like more food programs from the Red Cross or something like that. It's so fucking stupid. These people are succubus, if the word can define it best. They're basically a succubus, man. It's not a true democracy here at all. It's a shame.
Hey, Mike, I just posted a link in the chat. It's a video on TV white space mapping, and what that band of with that band or that spectrum of radio, or I'm sorry, what is it? It's white space. So that's where what's the, because we're in digital. I'm trying to remember.
Analog white space.
Analog white space, right? So that analog white space can still be used. It is a frequency spectrum that can still be used.
Yeah.
So as other companies move onto higher frequency spectrums and they acquire licensure to operate in those spaces, the TV white space where your analog spectrum used to run is still available and it's open.
Yeah, it's always going to be there. It's always going to be there. Same thing with 3G. There's still a lot of white space available with that.
A lot of white space.
4G as well. I know government has their own white space for that. And so that's sort of the roadblocks that people run into. The reason why you can't solve a lot of those issues in predominantly Black neighborhoods or predominantly Black communities across the country is because we don't have enough social enterprises being started up. And so we don't have a startup culture here. We just have a, you know, kind of a hustle culture where you flip something to get a quick investment or to get a quick return on investment. So that's part of the challenge is the culture itself in terms of business. It's never from a social impact perspective. It's always based on quick return on investment. I sell this, I get this much profit, and that's it. That's all that's really concerned. It's never about the social good for the environment. So all these people talking about building a Black community and this and that, they never have that conversation because they don't know what they're talking about.
They don't know what the fuck they're talking about, dude. Hey, Judge asked, okay, for the TV white space, the analog band, that's RHF or UHF?
UHF and VHF.
UHF.
The ultra high frequency.
There you go. That's it. Yep.
Yeah, it all depends on the length. So most, I think, very high frequency is something like 5 miles or 6 miles or something like that. And I think ultra high frequency, the range is something 13 to 26 miles. But the further out you go, the less bandwidth you're gonna get. So you have to be in the immediate zone.
I mean, now with that, well, nah, that's kind of a dumb question. Never mind. I just thought about it.
No,
I thought somebody was trying to pick up those things when they switched over. Somebody was trying to buy some of that bandwidth at some point.
You mean the white space? You mean the white space? So yeah, you can always buy it.
You can always buy it. It's up for auction. That's what I'm saying. We were talking about this in 2018. God damn, we got to go back to this shit, Mike. We were talking about building out, what was it, like internet infrastructure? What was it?
Yeah, it was community wireless infrastructure. So
community wireless infrastructure using white space.
Yeah.
Now, do you need a different? And this is probably a little bit above my head, but does that work on standard Wi-Fi or what
no?
kind of?
You need a modem. You would need a modem. For that.
Okay.
Yeah, not a modem, but you need a Wi-Fi external gateway for that.
And as a matter, I was going to say, and what we did was we profiled some devices that you can utilize to tap the white space to do just that. Run your own ISP. That's okay. Now my memory's coming back. Yo, I know I smoke a lot, but just give me a minute and the shit'll come back. But that's how deep we dived into that shit, where you got the devices that actually tap the white space, and then you run your ISP off of that shit.
You can. And you probably wouldn't use an ISP. You would probably just make it open for the residents in that area.
Well, you could run an ISP off it, but the whole purpose was what he just said.
Well, if you run an ISP off of it, you got to provide all of the services, and if you don't have all the services and customer support and all that type of stuff, then you're kind of screwed. So it wouldn't be
the device. The device can provide the connectivity.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a device that actually connects it to your to your network. So.
Okay. I mean, but it sounds like it's going to take some very specialized equipment though to run this.
No.
That's why we talked about it. Yeah, no.
Same antenna on your house that gets a TV signal is actually going to same thing that provides the signal to you.
Okay.
Yeah, you kind of
it's literally the main thing is acquiring the white space. That's what we're really talking about is, having like, maybe some sort of like communications hedge and, kind of like its primary angle is acquiring white space for these types of purposes, right? And so you're really just talking about money.
Yeah.
Because the white space is available on auction.
Yeah, we worked on this last year. We had a community Wi-Fi project last year, and it's very difficult to get something like that up and going unless you have some major subject matter experts and stuff like that. You have, trees that block environment, buildings and stuff like that. You have to have high gain and low gain and stuff like that. You have to be pitching from the top of the hill down. So there's a lot of we worked on the project, and it's a lot of scaling and stuff like that, mapping and stuff like that, geospatial work that you have to do in order to make something like that work. And so the project got scraped because there was not enough investment into it. So that's when people started talking about, well, maybe we should just look at laying down fiber in the ground.
Okay.
And that fiber costs $200 million to lay down. So that's where you get stuck at. There's money on the table for it, yeah. But like I said before, the conversation that I had with them, you know, basically no one wants to spend the money on it because it doesn't have the same optical return on investment where you can prop up a building and something like that, you know, for you know, girls who code and stuff like that. That's what people like to see. They like things that make them feel good. That doesn't make them feel good, you know, that people are getting free internet, you know, and stuff like that. So that's the pushback.
Yeah.
The old instant gratification route.
Told you, man, it's a long game. Oh, this is a long game.
Yeah, I mean, people are, like I said, people who really do community work, man, really understand what goes into that. And you know, when I hear people talk, man, I don't think they really have any clue about what they're talking about.
Yep.
Any
long
clue.
game.
That stuff is really, really difficult to get implemented and stuff like that. You can get a lot of social initiatives passed if it's, you know, for alphabet groups and stuff like that, but not when it comes to like the advancement and the betterment of Black people, man, as a whole. They are vehemently against that stuff, man. Be very surprised. It's vehemently against it. So you gotta have like a tech committee and you know, a Black chamber of technology or something like that could actually really drive that initiative, drive legislation, actually push that stuff. You can't just push it from the behind the keyboard in a USB microphone and say, oh, we're about building the community. If you're gonna leave, then leave. You know, this is the motherfucker.
Dude, building a community is literally deploying free fucking Wi-Fi.
Well, yeah, so civil infrastructure is what we talk about.
Like that's building, in my mind, that's what building that shit is.
Yeah, civil infrastructure is really key to all of this. You know, that's why I brought up the solar panels on the public schools rooftops to provide,
like in the parking lots.
Right. You got 30 plus parking spaces in there. Why can't you put the infrastructure there? Because it doesn't sound good.
Mm-hmm.
They want that. You know, that's what the pushback is. So, all right, let me shut this down, man. Thank you all for joining us. Please hit the like button if not already done so. Share the video if possible. Hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust, including those posted on the community tab. Doc in the description beneath the video for you to reference. If you have any additional questions on some of the stuff that we talked about, leave your comments in the comment section after the live stream is over.
Peace.